Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Royal News Network, a Saturday morning live stream. I hope you guys are all having a super fantastic, amazing, and wonderful day here. It has been obviously a wild week for Harry and Meghan because Harry has been in New York for really an inexplicable reason. He's just kind of a convenient person there to, what is it? He's just a convenient person there to talk about some nonsense and people nod and clap along and then they shove him on his merry way because he has really nothing to say, nothing to offer. And then he did Jimmy Fallon for an inexplicable reason, trying to look like a statesman, then looking like a fool. Not the best PR strategy, but of course, Harry and Meghan are completely bereft of a good PR strategy right now because Meghan, of course, sent out her defense via Us Weekly about her alleged bullying behavior, making herself look infinitely worse, in my opinion. Because, man, there were some really creepy, weird anecdotes in that piece. And then, obviously, the Daily Beast came out the next day saying that she was a psycho demon. So, of a boss. So, yes, things are not going well for Harry and Meghan. And I was surprised this week, but probably because of all the negative press coverage. And then she thought, oh, the Us Weekly magazine would fix things, even though it only made things infinitely worse. Didn't do a paparazzi stroll, which is rare for her when her husband is out of town. But we will probably see one pop up, I would guess, on the same day as the Well Child Award because she can't leave very much alone. So this is just, again, been such a crazy week, guys. Obviously, as well, for those of you who noticed or maybe saw that video last night or what have you, I was on Dan Wooten last night, which was so fun. And so it's been just such a crazy, wild week. Been so busy, been doing a couple of different things, work things, trying to do personal things. It's all been all over the place. So, guys, I'm so excited, though, to be here with you. And we got, starting with Trish Reese, Harry will and vice versa will never legally split. This is an interesting thought, and I've contributed to this as well. I think what will happen with Harry and Meghan is that they may split. I mean, they could be technically split already, but they won't publicly announce it for quite a bit. So that follows along with Meryl Streep and her husband and Will Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith, who were like, oh yeah, we've been separated for like 6-7 years and just didn't tell anyone. Like, okay. We also have Allison Yay, Dan Wooten. It's one of the worst weeks for NYC. Our neighbor was indicted and the NYPD chief stepped down. We need those resources. And NYPD took him to a tattoo parlor. I'm furious. Yes. Yeah. He went to a tattoo parlor. Why? And like the tattoo parlor guy was like, he's trying to be all like, coy and stuff. And he's like, well, we don't share the personal information about, people visiting and stuff. I'm like, oh, give me a break. Don't be ridiculous. They do that all the time in tattoo parlors and stuff. It's just dumb. If he got something, then it just screams midlife crisis. I mean, he can do it. He will not be the first royal to have tattoos. The other ones do, but it's just like, goodness gracious is me. All right, Ashley became a new member. Thank you so much, Ashley Tolson. I hope you are doing well. Thank you so much. Then we have just a couple things here real quick. We got Cheryl T gave a super sticker. Why, thank you so much, Cheryl. And we also have Catherine Abbott. Thank you so much for sharing it. If it goes to support the channel, and it means so much. Okay, so we have, let's see, Casey says, good morning, Brittany and Ms. Pippa and my RNN friends from beautiful fall morning in New Hampshire. We also have, I did hear on Dan Wooten that the Canadian authorities have said that they do not want Meghan at next year's Invictus Games and that Harry must come alone due to outrageous demands. I don't know if I believe that quite yet, but like, I don't see the purpose of her being there. She offers literally nothing. She just walks around. She actually steals Harry's attention. So his attention is less on the competitors because she is there and she has to hold on to him because heaven forbid they are not holding hands like 12-year-olds with their first girlfriend or boyfriend. I feel like Harry and Meghan are. I mean, they have such a juvenile level of love. It's just kind of silly to watch them. It's almost laughable. So yes, I mean, I think that's how they should do it. Unfortunately, again, I've suspected, I've posited that actually the Invictus Games uses Meghan to get additional attention on the games because they can't get attention on the games. So it's just a little wild. Just a little wild for sure. And then we have Diana here. Thank you so much for the support. So happy first time. I have a theory about Meghan and her bullying allegations and her crazy gifts. I think it's similar to relationship abuse. She loves bombs at the beginning and bullies after. Yes, I would 100% agree with that. I think she totally and completely, she'll love bomb. And she also, I think, does it too as a way. She'll love bomb. Let's say she'll be mean to everybody, but then all of a sudden she'll choose one person out and actually really love bomb them while making it apparent to others that there's a disparity in the relationship and stuff. So she just does these kind of things that I just think just sort of twist relationships and stuff. I might sneeze here, so hold on a second. Okay, maybe it passed or maybe not. And so she totally does those kind of things to manipulate her staff. And she just does those too because she wants a particular thing. And again, I think, contacting incessantly a staff member who's had surgery like daily, I don't think that's a good thing. That strikes me as radically unhealthy. Like, and again, there should be some separation between boss and staff member and stuff. Like, if you're not absolutely together or whatever, like there should be some just natural separation between the two, but Meghan no conflates everything, and it just speaks of a radically unhealthy dynamic. I think most people in Hollywood go, you're contacting your staff member for days, like what are you going to do to me when we have a relationship? Like as a business and stuff. So it's just kind of crazy. So yes, I agree with your theory. I think she does definitely love bomb mom because I don't think actually necessarily her staff members are lying when what they said to Us Weekly. They're just not telling you the whole story. I think they're just telling you half of the story, the good story Meghan wants to hear. Oh, Cheryl T, who's been a member for 9 months, says, so happy to be here for the live stream. Well, we are happy to have you as well. And we also got Cheryl T giving support here, says, Goose, Vinny, Misty, Trey, oh, Foster, give a woof woof, and Squeaky gives a meow of indifference to Miss Pippa. Yes, our home is loud these days. LOL. Yeah, let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 dogs. Ooh, that'd be fun. My parents had 3 for a while until our patriarch Maverick sadly passed away. And it was definitely chaos, especially if we had to bring our dogs over. Oh, if you guys saw a live stream a couple years ago, you might have seen the 4 dog chaos with my Pippa and then my parents' dogs. So that was fun. That was fun. So yes. All right, we got DG66. Good morning, Brittany. Love you on Dan Wooten. Do you know where Diana's sapphire choker is? Thanks for all your hard work. We don't know. I would guess it is in the vault. And I think it would probably be controlled by William and Catherine because we definitely haven't seen them wear it. And if Meghan has it, you know for sure she would have worn it. But it seems like Meghan got all Diana's kind of chintzy, not really all that cool jewelry. Like the one thing she got that might have been kind of cool is a aquamarine ring. Catherine got all the good jewelry pretty much out of that relationship. So, and it makes sense for all the sapphires to stay with the engagement ring, basically, whoever has that. So that would be Catherine. But Catherine doesn't seem to be one who likes necessarily big jewelry. She has worn it on occasion, but she's not really Queen Maxima. You just gotta love Queen Maxima of the Netherlands. She loves the bling and she wears the bling a lot. And I love her for it because she rocks the bling. She really does. And Catherine doesn't strike me as somebody who likes the bling quite as much. There are some royal ladies who definitely wear it more frequently. Maxima, of course, is an example. I feel like Letizia as well of Spain. I don't think Spain really has big necklaces, so that is a bit different. But she definitely doesn't go for the big stuff either. She's more of a minimalist. And so I think it somewhat depends on the lady's preferences. But I believe it is still with the royal family. I probably within the control of William would be my guess. But Catherine has said, well, I don't have quite an opportunity to wear it yet. So she has decided not to. I'd love to see her wear it though. Again, love the bling on the ladies. One of my favorite things. That's why I so appreciate Queen Maxima because she always brings the bling. Even if she doesn't really need to, she has more bling on than anybody else. And I just love it. All right, Ritz, gifted 5 Royal News Network memberships. Why, thank you so much, Ritz. I really do appreciate it. We also have Terry here, gifted 5 Royal News Network memberships. Thank you so much, Terry. I'm sure some people would really, really appreciate that. We have Bobby Estelle. Hi, all my kiddos decide not to sleep in this morning. Loving my coffee right now. Oh, those are hard days. Elaine says, Brittany, great job on Dan Wooten. Do you know how many thumbs down CBS this morning received on the extended interview with Harry and Meghan? I couldn't watch the whole program. So we can see here real quick. I think it was pretty innocuous at the beginning because it's just there wasn't that much you could say. And I don't think anybody was really picking up on it. I think I was one of the first people to mention it actually. Oh yeah, so it's definitely gotten downvoted quite a bit. So it has 400 likes here. I can show it to you guys real quick because you do have to get an extension on your Chrome to see it. So you do have it right here. So 400 upvotes compared to 1,000 downvotes. So not doing super well. All their stuff tends to do that. I meant to mention on my video last night that Harry's video with the Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon is also 50-50 on YouTube. And so it's just one of those things where it's just like, come on, guys. It's just they just don't offer anything. I don't even think I need to do a deep dive on the Parents Network because it just doesn't seem to be like anything's there. And when they talked about it on this extended thing, I remember thinking, I'm like, there's nothing there. Like they don't even really know what it is. They just created it and just to give themselves something to do, I guess. I don't know. I always feel like they try to give themselves something to do and they don't have anything to do. Lizzie says, good morning, Ms. Brittany and Ms. Pippa. Hope everyone is enjoying their weekend. Liz, and you also gave a tip. Thank you so much. I love your last video analysis. As I was listening, I kept saying, Harry is deluded. And then you said it. Also, the freedom of speech is being censored. I said, sounds like dictatorship. And then you mentioned it too. Great minds think alike, right? I mean, what Harry is saying there in the little speech, I mean, I didn't mean to go over the whole video, but as I was listening to again, it's like there's just so many things to point out about what Harry and Meghan are attempting to do here, which is really dictatorship. They want to just crush free speech. And it's not because they actually really want to help these families. Like Harry might think that, but that's not really the impetus of it. The impetus of it is, Meghan's allegedly terrible treatment on social media. And it's like, well, you could actually be the people who exert change. And the way they start by that is by telling their fans who they call themselves the Sussex Squad. They've been revealed by the media to be this harassing, terrible group, just to tell them to stop. Like that's the easiest way they could start off with if they really cared about safety on the internet. But they don't care about safety on the internet except for Meghan Markle. They'll let the Sussex Squad do whatever they want. They want to protect Meghan Markle, and that's it. And so that's why I find his whole speech thing. I mean, I don't know if he knows that because it doesn't strike me as being terribly bright, but it was just one of those things where you just keep seeing time and time again that he is advocating for this thing, but I have no idea if he really actually knows what he's advocating for and what Meghan really wants, again, which is to completely and utterly dismantle free speech. And it's all for their own personal reasons. It's not actually to help society. I mean, because he's talking about Sputnik, and I was like, that guy knows nothing about Sputnik. It was so obviously a speech written by someone else for him. And he was just like, well, I just want to talk about, making sure the internet's safe for kids and showing people who's on my lock screen. I mean, he didn't actually show people, but it was just to me, it came across as just so, I don't know, scripted that it just also lost any of its oomph as well. And I don't think he has any standing on that particular topic. But yeah, he is completely deluded and he is just wanting a dictatorship online. And I just, again, hate that. It's like Harry and Meghan are trying to tell businesses how to make decisions when they are crappy business managers. If you are not a good business person, why are you giving business companies advice or attempting to? Because they don't know nothing about business. If they actually were people who knew something about business, those social media companies might take them seriously. But they've revealed themselves time and time again to be epic train wrecks when it comes to how they're doing their branding and everything. Like they're just absolute disasters. And so it's like, why would any social media company take them seriously? It's just the answer is they wouldn't. They wouldn't take them seriously because they don't even take themselves seriously. Right, I'm going to have a bit of my Whittards. It's my last bit of the luxury hot chocolate because I was supposed to go to UK in August. I had to cancel that trip and I was going to get more and then I didn't. But I'm hoping the Christmas one comes out. So if you're in the UK, let me know if they have the Christmas one. I don't see it online. I like the Christmas one last year. It's really good. And so, but hopefully I'm fingers crossed. I'm hoping to be there for the Christmas concert because I will have to be in Europe anyways because of the Christmas market trip I'm doing with some of y'all. And that'll be, I think, December 15th through the 22nd, if I remember correctly. And so, again, that trip is still open, but it's only open until October 16th. So you have like a little over 2-3 weeks if you are thinking about it. It's going to be an amazing trip, though. We already have a really awesome group. Asma says, "Hi, Britt. Haven't seen Dan Wooten yet, but we'll soon. Oh, yay!" Alice O'Donnell says, "Hi, everyone." Joan says, "Good morning, Brittany and Miss Pippa from San Ramon, California." Jess Ospina says, "Good morning, everyone. Greetings from Boston." Joan G says, "Is WME still representing Meghan?" So I've posited this. I don't think WME had anything to do with the Us Weekly article. Like, I cannot see any self-respecting epic PR firm like WME is. I mean, they're kind of a talent agency, but they do PR too. Ever going, "Oh yeah, that's a great idea. It's a great idea to give people more than they already had and to give them, kind of lead them down trains of thought that they hadn't before, that maybe that you yell because you said you didn't, your staff member said you didn't yell, but why did they say you didn't yell when the quote was noisy tantrums?" That raises an interesting question because all you could say is, "Well, she doesn't throw noisy tantrums." That's what you should say because you don't want to, again, add an additional adjective that doesn't exist in the situation because now it went from noisy tantrums to yelling. And then we have another report that, she's screaming to people. So no, not a good look at all. And again, what I struggle with the Harry and Meghan is there just doesn't even seem to be a good PR strategy. Again, Harry looks like a statesman and then looking like a fool and a guy who will do anything for money on Jimmy Fallon. Like he- it's just bad. So I just can't think that she's being represented by them anymore. I mean, it's been a year. They've accomplished nothing because she hasn't done anything. Again, Harry and Meghan, stupidly, in my opinion, continue on this track of behaving or demanding people treat them differently because they're quote unquote royals and not doing the real work. And you're not in the royal world anymore. You're in the real world. So you do have to work. You can't just go, "Well, I'm royal. I'm not going to do a promotional thing for my next show or whatever." Because I think Netflix, Spotify, the publishing house, anybody who's worked with them has lost money because they won't do the things they need to do in order to make themselves successful because they're too good for it because they're royalty. And again, I just despise that. That's just what I personally see. And it's not something that's gonna get any better until people call Harry and Meghan out on it, and that they're forced to do the things like, you have to do the things everybody else does. You can't just go on this thing where you're just, like, remote and, like, Meghan it seems like to me, this is just my personal opinion again, that Meghan's whole strategy for people to buy American Riviera Orchard stuff right now is I know she has a television show coming and whatever, but literally to me, because she has not done any of the groundwork to build up what the brand is so far, when she's had plenty of time to do it, it's been over 6 months now. Her entire brand strategy, I think, is going to be buy this because I'm Meghan the Duchess of Sussex. That is a horrifically bad brand strategy. Why should I buy it just because you made it? You could be selling me crap and I should just buy it because it's you. Like, no, no, that's terrible. And again, she has this entire time right now to actually build up goodwill towards the brand. No matter when the trademark comes out, she could have a weekly newsletter talking about different things or her passions or something. It just seems to be American Riviera Orchard just seems to be a cash grab. There's nothing behind it. So again, all this goes, I just don't think she's being represented by WME anymore. The like it's Harry and Meghan's operation is so incompetently done. It really is quite amazing that they still have any friends in Hollywood, to be quite honest, because it's like, it's embarrassingly bad. It's embarrassingly bad. All right. Oh, that's good. Rich says, good morning, R&M peeps from Chicago. Joan G said, great interview on Dan Wooten. Why, thank you. Aisha says, hi, everyone. Greetings from Finland. Hello. We have Elizabeth Weens. Good morning, everyone from sunny Manitoba, Canada. Not the best for Meghan, but it's nice to see Harry stepping out on his own. He may be able to recover his pride and purpose that way. Yeah, I agree with that. I think it's good maybe that they did go their separate ways professionally. I would imagine maybe at some point that might lead to a separation personally, but I think the thing is Harry is more charismatic than she is. She's so fake and contrived. And when they're together, she just holds on to him and it's just like so it's just good that they are going their separate ways. And he does need purpose because when she's there, he has to take the back seat. And he's a man. He doesn't really want to. I don't blame him. He was a royal too, but he let his wife walk all over him. And now I think he's starting to resent her for it. And that was going to happen. Again, in the natural general couple dynamics, men lead and women follow. Now, that's not always the case. And obviously, there is a balance in the relationship and everything. But you see this upset where Meghan just dominates and domineers Harry in most public situations. And I think, especially as a guy who was, you could say, the dominant in a way because he was the royal. So people always deferred to him. And now he's let his wife walk all over him. And at some point, he's going to start to resent her for it. I mean, I've always said he'll start to resent her at some point for missing out on time with his family, his breakdown of his relationship with his family, his friends, because she is the catalyst for everything that's wrong in his life, basically. Yes, he has made the decisions, but all the decisions, especially probably in his mind at some point, will go, she's at the fault for everything wrong in my life. And that is not a place you want to be in a relationship. Now, yes, there's a variety of factors. And of course, he contributed to all of that. But there is something to be said of everything started to go wrong when I met you. And that again will go. All right, Jeannie Walsh, thank you so much for the support. Was the Jimmy Fallon appearance as much as a train wreck as Meghan was on Ellen? Those two have made a train wreck out of their brand and their lives, as far as I can tell. I would actually say that the Ellen one was definitely worse because all Harry did was react to a haunted house. I think he overacted. I think some of it was a bit ridiculous. Honestly, I thought the whole thing looked dumb. I'm not really I mean, I wouldn't say I'm not a fan of haunted houses. I haven't gone to haunted houses in many years. My parents, when I was a kid, they took me to this one haunted house that, like, there's aspects of that still haunt me. And what's funny is my parents are not those type of parents who would take me there. So I think I did ask them once, or like, why did you take me there? Like there was this like a scene, and I remember there was this big saw, and they were cutting this guy into meat, and I just like this stuck out to me because I was like in fourth or fifth grade or something, and it's like not to. I just think it's really funny because they're just not. There's like a couple things in my childhood. I was like, that doesn't seem like it would be something you guys would be interested in, but we did it, so it's cool. But I was like, that that the haunted house has haunted me. Like again, there's some things where I'm like, I remember it. So maybe that's just me, but I think at least the haunted house thing made a bit more sense. Megan really just allowed Ellen DeGeneres to make an absolute fool of her on her TV show. Like squat for me. And Megan does this undignified, unladylike crass squat thing. And then she walks around, she sucks milk from a bottle, she puts on cat ears and goes nim nim, and like she puts a crystal to her head, like all sorts of stupid things. And Ellen DeGeneres is there laughing at her because she's thinking to herself, "Oh my gosh, this woman is quote unquote royalty and I can get her to do stupid stuff because she is so desperate for attention." That is probably the thought train of Ellen DeGeneres at that point. And I can't say I totally blame her. Megan let herself be played the fool, and she just willingly went along with it. So I think in that way, the Ellen is worse than Harry, but I think Harry did not do himself any favors. I'm not personally a fan. Like, there are certain situations where, yeah, cursing is appropriate, but I think he did it almost more for shock value than anything. I just felt like very inappropriate and crass. And then, faking punching the guy, and then having the Sussex squad say too, "Oh, the paparazzi and the British press better look out. That's what Harry's doing." I was like, "Oh, so you're advocating violence?" Like these people seem to advocate for violence. So I'm like, it doesn't play very well. So that is my personal thing, yes, I don't think it was great, but I think definitely the Harry came off better than whatever the heck Meghan was doing on Helen, because that was just literally just let's make fun of Meghan Markle because she's still a desperate D-list actress, even though she's attempting to play royalty, and she's willing to be made a fool and made fun of. So, yeah. Okay, so we have, I think I got this one, but I'll share it again. Sheila, hello everyone. We also have Diane. Hi everyone. Glad to be back with the RNN family. Hi Brittany. You've put some amazing content this week. Love it. Why, thank you. It's been very busy. Yes, Paige Tiffany says, good morning from South Carolina. No power because of Hurricane Helene, but ready for the RNN Live. Well, I hope you are doing well. Yes, I've heard, especially, I know in some parts of North Carolina and obviously South Carolina and Tennessee as well, lots and lots of damage. So praying for all, because I know we have Butterbugs Baked Goods, who usually comes on, and she's in Asheville. And so I hope she's doing well, because there was a lot of flooding in Asheville. So hope everyone is doing well and safe. Water says, good morning, everyone from gloomy Maryland. And we also have Cheryl T in Oklahoma. Good morning, Brittany and Miss Pippa. Seems like Megan is the poster girl for what not to do in a PR and starting a company. Yes, I do need to do. I want to do a whole series. I just didn't get to it this month about kind of taking and riffing off American Riviera Orchard and lessons to learn how to start a company. Because I'm definitely not perfect in it by any means, but it is something where it's like there are things you can learn. She's a really terrible business person, honestly. And the thing is, she can hire people. You can be a terrible business person. I would not call myself a great business person, because there's some things I should be doing that I'm not doing. But there's only so much of me to go around, and editing takes a while, all those sorts of things. But I think, to me, the big thing is that she can hire the people who can make up for her inadequacies, but she's not hiring those people. And so it's like, well, what? All right. Wendy Van Rokel says, hello, everyone. I hope it's a nice day for you. It is. Michelle Cruiser says, good morning, Brittany and Pippa from Fishers, Indiana. Do you think Harry will ever see the light at the end of the tunnel and figure Meghan out? He was not a bad guy as we watched him grow up. Yeah, I think he will at some point. Again, like I said, I think he'll come to resent her eventually for some things, because she's messed up a good chunk of his life. So, yeah. Stephanie says, good morning, everyone from Queen Mary's hometown, Hobart, Tasmania, Australia. Midnight here. Hello. I hope you guys are doing well. Letitia says, good morning, everyone. Good morning, Brittany and Miss Pippa. Rich says, the wig she has on the thumbnail is pretty obvious. It's quite stiff and about an inch off her scalp. Oh, well. Oh, yeah, from the CBS interview. Gosh, that thing. I need to watch the additional clips again, because again, I really do want to do a deep dive on the Parents Network, because again, they're touting this thing, but it's like, what is this thing? It's like you're creating a support group for parents. Okay, but then Harry said, it's to hold basically the social media companies accountable. And I'm like, how? How are you holding them accountable? Like, you can't. Again, the factor when it comes to situations with the internet is, yes, I think there are situations, of course, take down content. There was a couple stories going around a couple years ago about the horrific things that the moderators at like Facebook had to see and take down. Horrific things, of course, 100%. But Harry is just going on this train, and he's dragging these poor families along with him. And it's all about serving Meghan Markle and not really about serving these people or anybody else. They're not going to change anything, because number one, they're screaming at the sky. They have really no plan. It's just, well, we'll hold them accountable. Like, how? Because there's so many individual factors. Like a couple of the parents on the CBS thing, one of them, or at least I want to say two of them, actually, they purchase drugs through the online. I was like, well, that's more of an addiction issue. And so, yes, they use their phones to do that, but they would have gone to the street corner if they were addicted and done it too. So it's like, so how? I think there's human factors here that have nothing to do with the internet. And, he says, well, the people, the CEOs who started the companies should be there to see their creations to fruition, which doesn't even make sense, because at least in some of the cases, it's like, this is like an algorithm. The person who started it is maybe necessarily not in charge of everything, or they've sold it. It's like, he didn't make any sense, really. It's really embarrassingly bad. Because he's just regurgitating what other people have told him. And he really doesn't know anything about this, but it's his crusade. So, yeah, nobody helps them. and they just look a mess every time. Oh no, Water 8604 says, glad to be back and missed last week due to my father being in the hospital with a fractured ribs. Oh, I hope he's better. JB says, Brittany was great on Dan Wooten. Why, thank you. Thank you so much. Teacher Ray Samantha says, good to see you in Dan Wooten. Why, thank you. BMJ143 says, morning. Good morning. Stephanie Barrett says, yes, Brittany was fantastic on Dan Wooten. So professional. Well done, Brittany. Why, thank you. Why, thank you. Cindy says, good morning from Reno, Nevada. Laners, good morning from Northern California. We got Kelly from Alaska. Asma says, confused by Jimmy Fallon. Yes, everyone is confused. It doesn't make any sense. And then visiting a tattoo bar. Again, it all goes back to what is your comprehensive PR strategy? What is a comprehensive PR strategy? They just don't seem to have one because everything should work together. So Teresa says, good morning, everyone. Brittany, you are great on Dan Wooten. Why, thank you. Kate says, good morning from Phoenix. Francis says, hey, Francis, good morning. You were so professional on Dan Wooten. Why, thank you, Francis. Christina says, good morning from Metro Detroit. Good morning. We got Gemstone Girl from Bath. We got Kevin, my celebrity crush this morning. Oh, thank you. Lizzie B says, Brittany looking pretty in red. Why, thanks. Olivia says, good morning, everyone. F says, good morning. Do you think Megan will be desperate enough to show the kids? At some point, she will get desperate enough. At some point, they will. And they'll, because honestly, their stupid thing of, oh, we want to protect our kids. Our kids are so special and important and all these sorts of things. I think, again, they're somewhat looking for a payday. And honestly, as well, like if they want those kids to keep those titles, they need to figure out some way of endearing the kids to the UK public, because if I've suggested this 100%, like change the acts of parliament to say, letters of patent to say you must be raised and educated in the United Kingdom to have titles. That would be such an easy fix. It makes so much sense. It protects Catherine and William's children and the grandchildren in the future. Just do that. And Harry and Meghan, like, either are forced to move back to the UK or just drop the titles for their kids. And when that is announced, the UK public will go like this. Sorry, too bad, so sad. They won't care. They won't care because Harry and Meghan have not done the things that will make people care. And that's the problem. So we'll see. We have Diaz, a member for 6 months. Hi, sorry to all, but who is Dan Wooten? He is a British reporter. He was actually the one who broke the Mexit story before it went. Harry and Meghan made it official. He was with the Sun, and he was on GB News, I think, for a bit, and ended up leaving. There was some sort of scandal, but he was vindicated. I'm not sure the details. And so now he has Outspoken, which is on YouTube. And so I was on it with him. So very fun. And it was a really great opportunity. But yes, sorry. I'm so much at trying to get all my stuff done that I don't always watch everybody else's stuff. Because honestly, sometimes, guys, I just don't get the time. But was so awesome to be on his. So yeah, I don't track necessarily the entire trajectory of his career, but my understanding is he started out on he was definitely with the Sun and definitely broke a couple of the Harry and Meghan stories when they were coming out. So Steven says, remember, Mama Knows Best LLC is the company that will hire the CEO to run the brand. American River Orchard Arrow is not a company entity. Yes, great point, Steven. Thank you so much for the support. And yeah, and think of it itself. Remember, Mama Knows Best. That's her LLC. Mama Knows Best. Again, it goes to the thing of Meghan is the one who wears the pants in the relationship. And Harry voluntarily, at least for a while, was like, sure, wear the pants. Again, I don't think that'll last forever. And Arrow and Mama's Knows Best, whatever, desperately need a leader because it's not Meghan Markle. She is terrible, horrible at this. I can't think of any business person would go, yeah, launch an entire brand. It's not a soft launch. It was a launch. Soft launch would be like her putting in little products here and there and not really telling people who was behind it or something. I don't know. But yeah, it was not a soft launch. It was kind of a hard launch. And then there was nothing she could do. So John Masood, aw, thank you so much for your support. Love your appearance on Dan Wooten. Glad to see more and more people commenting on how Harry and Meghan keep starting projects and can't seem to finish them. Very odd. It is very odd. And again, it goes to show that 100% the Hollywood Reporter article, I think, was 100% true. And it was an overall indictment of how terrible of business people they are. They are terrible, terrible business people. Harry is utterly clueless. Meghan thinks she knows what she does and she doesn't. That's why they said, which makes total sense because it's like they give her advice and she doesn't take it. They can't make the good decision. They keep changing their minds. Like we see this play out time and time and time again. And so it's just one of those things where it's just it was nice to have the Hollywood Reporter lay it out, like, I feel like so clearly and just so like, kind of easy, I want to say in a way, just like, yeah, they're kind of terrible at this and everyone sort of knows it. And I think that's 100% true. People 100% know how bad they are at certain things, especially in Hollywood. Like they know. And they're all watching this going, how is it that two people with as much resources as they have are doing things this poorly? I mean, it boggles the mind. It boggles the mind. You can say what you want about the Kardashians, but they are good business people. They are. They've launched brands, very successful ones. Yes, I know with Skims, because Kim Kardashian originally wanted to call it Kimono, and I actually think Skims was a better name. Skims was actually a lot better names, and it's done wildly successful because I think it almost is a better name because it fits more with the brand. And yes, she came along with a brand that was already, I think, in motion, and they brought her on, but she knows which brands to glom on to. They know which brands to promote. Like they do a really good job, and they're also very professional. My understanding is I've heard this from people when it comes to doing interviews, especially the older three, I think especially Kim and Chloe, if you interview them, they are very attentive no matter like kind of your level of reporter or whatever. This might have changed a bit because obviously now they're even bigger than ever before, but they're very engaged with you. They, maintain eye contact. They're not somebody, not celebrity who kind of goes up to you and just like, rolls their eyes and doesn't really answer your questions. They're very good at what they do. And that's why they've been successful at it. Meghan is not good at what she does. And that's why she has not been successful at it. So, Janine Walsh gifted 10 Royal News Network memberships. Thank you so much, Janine. I'm sure that so many people will really, really appreciate it. Okay. All right. So we got Regis. College says, good morning, Brittany and all. Hope you're having a great day from Boston. Always enjoy listening to you about Royals. Why, thank you. Rich says, Harry is bored with himself, but does not have the sense to get his duty and actually be a philanthropist that he says he is, or actually work no sympathy. Yes. Well, I will say, though, the other thing to consider here, and this is the one thing I've noticed as well, is that philanthropy is not a money-making enterprise. Generally, it should not be. And they do really, at the end of the day, kind of low hanging fruit when it comes to charity stuff. Like they don't have enough money to actually really make a big splash in anything. So the thing is for them, and I know I've said this before, is that in order to actually be philanthropists, they have to make money. They cannot just be like, well, we're going to be philanthropists, which is basically being a royal without really being a royal. But the thing is, royals, they get their money from the duchies of Lancaster and Cornwall. They get supported in part by the sovereign grant. Like they get support through various ways, so they can be philanthropists. Harry and Meghan left that world. They don't have a bunch of money to back them up. So what they have to do is actually get real big boy and girl jobs, and then that is how they fund their philanthropy. Because the Gates Foundation wasn't started when Bill Gates had just founded Microsoft. He founded the Bill Gates Foundation years after he became a billionaire and massively successful with Microsoft. You actually have to do the work first, and then you get to do, maybe if you think philanthropy is the fun stuff, maybe you get to do that. But they keep focusing on this philanthropy stuff and being these cosplay royals. And I'm like, but you need real jobs. Like, did Columbia pay them to go there? If not, they made zero money from going to Columbia, really. They might have made some from Meghan's merching or whatever, but they didn't make that much money from it. And when it comes to Netflix, I would say Netflix is thinking to themselves, again, like I said in the video last night, you went to Columbia, which means you weren't working on other stuff. You are behind already on all your things. You have failed to produce good quality content, and you're being frivolous with your time. Again, business people take a look at that and they don't like it. And yes, Ted Sanders or whatever may say some nice things time to time about Harry and Meghan, who's the head of Netflix, but he's also paying them, upwards of tens of millions of dollars so far. And so he has to say nice things because they're in the bank for a lot with him, and he wants at least to get some more for his pound of flesh. He's not going to get much because let's face it, the polo thing's going to flop. ARO at this point, I don't see that doing well. So we have Mima from Southern Massachusetts, Alice from Thanet, the UK, Catherine from Bristol. We got Janice Smith. Great job. And Dan Wooten. Why, thank you. ARM Scout, good morning. We got Poetry Chick from Pennsylvania. We have Gisler. Hi, everyone. We have Olivia from LA. Esther says, good morning. The delusional duo strike again. They have made a lot of bad decisions this week. Yes, ton of bad decisions. I think the Us Weekly thing is going to go like again, I know there are people with blinders on, but anybody within the industry is going to look at the Hollywood Reporter article and look at the sycophantically sugary Us Weekly article and go, what was she thinking? It's again too much. It was too much of an overreaction, which almost screams guilt. So Water says that Us Weekly article sounded like a sugary sweet fiction. It did. It did. It went too far. It went too far. Something I think it would have been better to have actually a staff member of Harry and Meghan's go on camera and share about them. But again, that's risky. Again, Meghan wants to control everything. And so I actually think it makes me question things more. And I think other people are questioning things more too. Chris Cook said, good morning. We got Lexi. Loved you on Dan Wooten last night. Why, thank you. DS says, Harry sounded like an idiot during that speech. Awful analogies. He acts like he invented parenting. I'm actually embarrassed for him. Yeah, it was really embarrassing. It was super, super duper embarrassing. And it was like, oh man. So again, it was kind of the analogy of like parenting doesn't start after you just parenting doesn't end as you give birth or something. And I'm like, the analogy I think would have worked better if you said parenting doesn't end when your kid turns 18. Because I think that's somewhat true. You can still parent after 18. Granted, the parenting changes, you could say, but I think you can still parent. But saying that you don't parent after giving birth just doesn't make like stop parenting after you give birth. And like you haven't even started parenting yet. You haven't even started parenting yet. You start parenting after the baby is born, not while they're in the womb. There's nothing you can do when they're in their womb except for like, put furniture together, put things on the wall, like prepare, which is of course what you should do. But you also shouldn't just be like, you're not parenting yet because there's nothing to parent. Because as long as they're in the womb growing, like that's the extent of the parenting. I guess eating right, doing healthy things, like that's part of it too. And we do have a very special guest. We got the four paws of Miss Pippa. So good morning. If you guys are wondering who Miss Pippa is, this is Miss Pippa with her Halloweeny collar on. And she is wondering always, every Saturday morning, why do I talk to myself in this room where she's not at? Yeah. Yeah. We got a really exciting visit from grandma yesterday. So that was very, very exciting. She loves grandma. She cries when my mom comes by. It's so cute. She's like so excited. And then she's like, hold me, hold me. Hi, baby girl. Millie says, good morning, all. Hi, Brittany. I hope everyone is having a wonderful weekend. Frank says, you did well with Dan Wooten. Good for you. I thank you. We have Terry from Dallas, Jamie from What a Surprise of seeing you on Dan Wooten's platform. Why, thank you. Allison says, good morning. Patty M says, good morning. Loved you on Dan Wooten. You were informative and entertaining at the same time. Well, good. I'm so glad. It's always nerve-wracking. Stephen and Magnus, thank you so much for the support. Fidelity Investments, a charitable fund. And this charity donated in 2023, $6 million to Archwell, according to their 990. Yes. I think part of Harry's book money went into the charity, and that's basically what they're using to fund Archwell at this point. But they're not going to get any big payouts again, really, unless Meghan does a memoir, which of course she'll do a memoir at some point because it's the only other thing that's going to make them money. So I think she'll do a memoir at some point. Do you see everyone? Do you see everyone? Everyone's over there. Do you see them? Do you want to see? Want to say hi? Want to say hi? Okay. She just so curious. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see, but yeah, definitely they used, I think, a big paycheck from Harry's book to start Archwell so that they could, he could get some money from that. So and utilize that to start, but I don't think they have anything else to, like, contribute to it, really. Beckatopia says this is from earlier. Is that Miss Pippa barking? It was Miss Pippa barking. She likes to be on what we call puppy patrol. She's captain of the puppy patrol, in my opinion. Her cousin Bella is the lieutenant. We have a couple other dogs that are one's a rookie. I can't remember what the other one's. Maverick, sad Maverick, was our commissioner because he slept. He was a big boy. Yeah. You liked Maverick, didn't you? You liked Maverton. Yeah, she would go, it was so sweet when he would stay with us sometimes. She would go down the stairs and she would kinda nose him because he would come and say hi in the morning, and she would, like, nose him and go, "Hi, hi." "Didn't you? Didn't you? You liked Maverick." Yeah. Okay, let's get you down. Aw. Okay, I did that one. Thank you so much. Jamie says, "What a surprise seeing Brittany on our Dan Wooten platform." Yes. Allison says, "Good morning." Patty M says, "Good morning. Loved you on Dan Wooten." Okay. I read that one? Can't remember. Jenny Dar says, "Good morning. Really hope the RF takes action and separates themselves from Harry and Meghan." Yeah, I wish they would do a bit more because I feel like they need to do more. And I've said that for a long time. I think the royal family needs to do just a bit more. And again, I think the letters of patent thing would be so, so easy. Sarah says, "Good morning from Oklahoma." DG66 says, "Oh my goodness, I need your red blouse. May I ask where you purchased it?" Yeah, I purchased it actually specifically to wear it in videos. It's CC. Yeah, CC. I got it from like Marshalls though, or something. So I don't know if you could find it. Amanda said, "You are terrific on Dan." Why, thank you. We have Rose. Hi, Brittany. We got Mademoiselle Rhapsody says, "Looking good on Dan Wooten's show." Thank you. DS says, "Totally agree with you, Brittany. Humanity hasn't changed. I thoroughly enjoyed your commentary with last night's video." Why, thank you. Why, thank you. Yes. Like, human behavior in some ways is so much easier to understand when you realize like people have been doing the same thing for centuries. And really, at the base of it, humanity hasn't changed. We've just put it all on the internet now. We do it in person, then we put it on the internet. There are horrible things you can read about in history, and you're like, "Wow, wow." Like, the things other people did to each other. Like, I mean, officially look into what is, hung, drawn, and quartered, like, how they did it before they decided to try to kill the people before they did all this stuff, like, how long that like, how oh gosh, awful, awful stuff, and I'm like, "Who came up with that?" Like, why would you come up with that? Like, crucifixion, awful way to die. It's just so many like wars, famines, horrible, horrible abuses in humanity, and that is what humanity is. And so when you understand that, hey, yeah, the internet's probably going to be filled with the same stuff because humans still do the same things. Again, we're just more likely to put it out on the internet anymore. Again, why we don't have, I think, large scale conflicts since really World War II. I mean, we'll have one at some point. That's just again what humanity is obviously nuclear weapons are a huge deterrent because again, you have to everybody's kind of at a detente because if you start a nuclear war, everybody's going to start a nuclear war and can you survive? Can you be the country that comes out on top? That's always a question. So, oh, you might have noticed the camera move. That was Miss Pippa making her bed right underneath the camera. Dimitri says, "Good morning from Toronto." We have Alice. Well done for Dan Wooten. It was awesome. Why, thank you. Kimberly says, "Hi, everyone. Sorry I'm late." JB says, "I bet Harry got the tramp stamp." That would be funny. Oh, man. That would actually be really funny. Mary Mo gave a super sticker. Why, thank you so much, Mary. I really do appreciate it. Helps support us here at the channel and keeps Miss Pippa and all her bones because she likes her bones. Neely says, "Good morning, Brittany, Miss Pippa, and everyone." Water says, "Harry got a tattoo." Bet it was I love mom tattoo. That's pretty good. He has, I mean, to be honest, I just hate how he always uses, "Well, my mother." I'm like, okay, but I get it. I get it. You lost your mom. That's terrible, horrible. So have a lot of people though. And also, it's like, it's been a long time now, and I feel like you use her as a crutch. So that's just my opinion. Isla Boo says, why has WME stepped in? Surely this is not good for them. Again, I don't think they're part of it, or Megan went rogue, and I don't think they're particularly happy about that. I wouldn't be happy if my client went rogue. Lisa Elaine says, what do you think about the report that Megan has been told she's not welcome at the Whistler Games? I don't know if I buy that quite yet, but I wouldn't be surprised either. Again, she helps bring eyeballs, but that's it. That's it. She doesn't wear any Invictus merch. She refuses to. She did it when she was a working royal, but since then she doesn't, because I'm sure she was told, hey, you should wear this. And she was like, fine. But now that she's free, it's like, I don't have to, Invictus Games is basically a fashion show for her at this point. That is solely what it is. Jamie says, I love you guys. Thanks for keeping the free speech. Yes. Wendy says, I'm picturing mom tattooed on his arm. Janine says, good morning from Texas. We got Margaret. Good afternoon from Worcester after a wet week. We have Renee Marie Berger de Roca. Good morning, everyone. Miss Pippa. My grandpa used to say, don't fight with journalists. They had the paper rolls and ink barrels. Imagine today with all the tech. Silence is still golden. It is. It is. It is very much still golden. Janine Walsh says, great quotes on Dan Wooten. You were very professional and informative. Much nice and needed change from the old lady always on. Makeup perfection as well. Why, thank you. Why, thank you. I have figured out the makeup thing that works for me. I guess I should link it more if people are interested. I like the small Naked 3 palette from Urban Decay. It works for me. And I just like it. So I just buy it all the time. And it's cheaper than the other stuff I used to buy. But I just feel like the colors are just like perfection. And it's like light, but good and not too much. So Janine says, sending well wishes to our fellow Americans impacted by Helene. Yes. Yes. It's been crazy. Crazy for sure. Jamie says, yeah, I-40. I mean, the I-40 corridor, I guess, between North Carolina and Tennessee got partially wiped out. I was like, wow. A big high five to Brittany Lady C. And according to Taz, Pdina, and massive salute to Jan Wooten. Yes. Water says, Mimi is an emotional abuser. That's how she controls Harry. I don't necessarily I don't think I would just totally disagree with that. And again, think of it if the sexes were reversed for Harry and Meghan, there'd be a lot more outrage if Harry was a woman and Meghan was a man. Let's be honest. Isa Texas says, good morning from Houston, Texas, everyone. Cal says, good morning from Cleveland, Ohio. You were great on Outspoken with Dan. Why, thank you. Learning Logbook says, hello, everyone from Lake Como, Italy. Loved your insights on the topic. Good work. Why, thank you. It sounds like you are enjoying Lake Como. That would be cool. Everybody talks about it. I just want to visit once. John Paul says, hello. Demetra says, you were great on Dan Wooten. Why, thank you. Princess Goose says, it was hard during the college football season. I'm watching this live stream and college game day. You should feel special. I'm a college football lover and I'm watching your show. Why, thank you so much. I know what it takes. My dad loves football. So if somebody else sacrifices a bit of the football game to watch, that's just awesome. Oh, so my sound just cut off. Is it just me? That made me look and see, did I touch? Because if you guys notice, there we go. So, I always I'm double checking. Like you'll notice sometimes in videos, I try to cut it out, but I'll just go, I'm on, right? Because I've done that too, where I've recorded a whole thing and I accidentally touched this and it was off the whole time. It really sucked. Really sucked. Lexi says, Dan Wooten didn't tell you, but Lady C said that actually M started this whole thing. She went to Hollywood Reporter for them to do a puff piece and they investigated and her for the truth. I don't necessarily believe that totally. I think this was a total surprise to Harry and Meghan, hence their inability to come up with a comment when initially asked. So I'm just not personally, that just doesn't totally make sense to me. I know somebody said it was like a deflection from another story, but to me, this sounds like, I think what happened, this is my theory, is that this was instigated. And again, not saying anything bad, but Josh Kettler left and that article came out a month later. I don't think that's necessarily a coincidence. I think Josh Kettler must have a lot of friends and ties in the industry. And obviously people can see as well the revolving door of staff. And I think WME has also played a role. And that's what I think. I think she's since she's been there, she's already burned a lot of bridges. and people aren't impressed. That's just my personal opinion on the matter. Seba says Archwell employees have ability but weak personalities except Josh Keshler who left with him for 3 months. Yes. Like they're either like this is like the best thing they've ever had, or they're just like desperate for that leg up type of thing. Cause you can get kind of a different level of people just wanting to be close to power in places like Los Angeles and stuff. And Josh Kettler leaving within 3 months and how he did it, again, you got to remember, he left, immediately went to Richard Eden and told him. So it could be reported that he voluntarily left. He wanted to leave, he quit. And then when Harry and Meghan 24 hours later going, oh, it was a mutual decision. I'm like, no, he quit. He quit on you guys because you guys were horrible business managers and he couldn't get anything accomplished. And I think he is some of the instigator. Now I don't know because again, that's just my theory, and I don't want to get him into trouble or anything, but I think that's how it sounded. So, and Matthew says, "Hi, Brittany and Miss Pippa. Could you explain Her Royal Highness versus Her Serene Highness? All of the Monaco princesses are using Serene Highness designation. Yes, it's a lower level designation, and I can't remember quite how the order goes because again, these are like kind of semantic things that would only really apply in royal circles. But there's so it goes His or Her Imperial Majesty, His or Her Majesty, then His or Her Imperial Royal Highness, and then His or Her Royal Highness. So those, I think that's kind of the order of designation because imperial obviously means empire, and Britain doesn't have an empire anymore. And then I think, don't quote me though. It goes His or Her Serene Royal Highness, His or Her Highness, and I think that's it. And His or Her Serene Royal Highness, I think, represents the principality situation. I don't think it reflects this kind of lower rank that Monaco is in terms of it's just a small principality. I don't know about Liechtenstein though, because that would be also more of a principality. So I can't quite speak to that. So I'd have to look up a little bit of it. But I know what's interesting about the Monaco situation is that Princess Caroline married Ernst of Hanover, who was his Royal Highness. So she got elevated from Her Serene Highness to Her Royal Highness. Now, I can't help but think, and this is just my personal opinion, part of the reason she doesn't get the full divorce is that she still wants to use her royal highness. which is a little silly, but I honestly think that's some of it. Because in some of these royal circles, all that stuff really does matter. And we should look and see how Princess Theodora's wedding is going. She's getting married today. And when it comes to Caroline's daughter, Princess Alexandra of Hanover, she's her royal highness. So again, just kind of interesting. Some interesting semantics there for sure. And let's see, in Norway, though, because they have His or Her Royal Highness for sort of the main line, and then His Highness for the Crown Prince and Princess's younger son, and for the King and Queen's younger. Well, she's technically the older daughter, but she's not. Her brother supersedes her in the line of succession. She's Her Highness as well. So I could be switching around her Royal Highness, the order of His Serene Highness and His or Her Highness in the hierarchy. So I could be mixing that up, but yeah. So I hope that helps explain it maybe a little bit. Maybe a little bit. Anya D, thank you so much for the support. NDAs are finite. I wonder if their staff is waiting until they can speak. Yeah, and I mean, I think if they are violating labor laws, then they are not necessarily fully held to the NDAs. And also too, that why do you think they spoke off the record? I mean, the amount of people going, "Oh, because they spoke on the record, now we can totally disregard those off the record people." It's like, "No, they were held to NDAs, and I have no doubt they were personally called by Meghan to say, "You need to contribute to Us Weekly, or I know you talked to the Hollywood Reporter," and they're like, "Okay." So we'll say things that are technically true, but also not the full picture. Again, it's read some of the comments. They are very, very, very just kind of they're very careful in their language. Very, very careful. Very careful. Okay. Babette says, good morning. Agree with everyone. Read Dan Wooten appearance. It was like Brittany has been doing this for years. Why, thank you. Isa Texas says, Janine, hello, neighbor. And Priscilla says, where can they move? Canada, Africa? Who will accept that? No one. Like, they can move somewhere else. But again, they need real jobs. Like, don't move, work. They just seem to want the money and not work. It's really quite astounding. Sue M says, today's page 6 article is throwing Meghan under the bus for the Us Weekly stunt. I was surprised since page 6 is usually her mouthpiece. They kind of go either way. But yeah, I mean, again, people see this Us Weekly thing and going, are you kidding? I mean, I've known PR people, I've worked with PR people. I just, again, cannot fathom any of them thinking that's a good idea. I know one guy who would probably throw that out and go, that is horrible. Like, please do not go forwards with this. It's just really, really bad. So loving this cool weather, neighbor. I love how people connect. And Priscilla says, who will accept them? No one. Catherine says, is there any way people from the UK can join your tours, or is it limited to people from the USA? I would like to join, but can the package price reduced if flying from the UK? So it's actually, because the flights are separate, it's paying for the trip, not the flight itself. So your price would be a lot cheaper, at least for flight wise. But yeah, it's open to anyone in the world. I believe somebody is coming in from Singapore, if I remember correctly. So that was really exciting to see. So yeah, anybody can come from anywhere in the world. And it just, how close you are and flying and stuff, that all factors into whether or not you can do it. So we have so much fun though. These are so fun. And it's like you get to go to places you wouldn't normally go to. It's like so fun. And you get to go with people who kind of like the same stuff. It's awesome. Wendy says she likes warm weather. Maybe they'll move to Arizona or Florida. Maybe. Well, that's where everyone is moving, is to Florida. Well, I was reading the State Farm thing for anybody in Florida, that State Farm is basically saying like they'll be bankrupt by 2028 if they have to pay for more to pay to repair fire damage again, because they have to do it so much that it's kind of bankrupting them. And they say unless they can raise the prices by like 52%, they're either going to have to abandon all their policies and leave the state or something like that, which is crazy. So it's not like, can you imagine the massive amount of money they pay in insurance on their home for fire? It's gotta be crazy. Margaret says, Dan Wooten was great. Why, thank you. Water says, it was so great to see Princess Catherine back to work, even if it's just some simple things. Yes. Teacher Samantha Ray, thank you for gifting subs. It is so sweet. Cal says, how awesome gifted memberships. Yes. Sion says, greetings, Brittany from North Wales, UK. DS says, Prince Harry has reduced himself to low-class celebrity being on Jimmy Fallon. Has he forgotten he's a prince? Well, he probably has. Meghan makes sure he doesn't forget that she's the Duchess of Sussex. And he is just the Duke of Sussex. Judy says, I thought the Catherine wore the emerald choker in New York. I thought they were talking about the sapphire choker. Maybe I was getting confused and wasn't reading close enough. There's a lot going on these live streams. But yes, Catherine does, like, the emerald choker is definitely within the family, but there is a sapphire choker as well, I think, with pearls, if I remember correctly, because I was looking at some stuff. So let me look that up real quick. Yes, there is this. I never spelled choker right. There is a sapphire choker, and I think that's what that person was talking about. So if it wasn't correct, I do apologize. Again, guys, so much going on. So ignore my horrible spelling. But so there is the choker, and we have not seen this on Catherine yet, but I imagine it is still in the vault, and we may see it at some point. I don't think. Oh yeah, it would be lovely to see Catherine wear like a big sapphire brooch and stuff, but she just hasn't worn that much stuff. Like, she just doesn't seem to like the big jewels quite as much. Again, not really a problem. So yeah, as far as we're aware, we haven't seen it. We haven't seen it in 24 years. They suggested here on the court jeweler, the Duchess of Cambridge, as she was at the time, will be next to wear it. So we will see if that's the case or not. Melissa says, just received a gift membership. Thank you, Terry. So did Neely. And then teacher Ray Samantha as well. I'm so happy JB says, thank you so much, Ritz. Andrea says, love seeing you on Dan Wooten Live. Why, thank you. Demetria says, kisses to Miss Pippa. Why, thank you. Stephanie says, had that read between the lines reference feeling reading the Yes Weekly article. Cherry pick nice things, not addressing competence, performance, and job, so it doesn't look Nancy. Yes, you can very much cherry pick what you say. I mean, we all do it. If you've gone in for a job interview, we've all done it where we kind of sugarcoat things that maybe weren't the best. And not that you're necessarily lying, you're just kind of picking and choosing the things that honestly look best for you in that particular situation. But the other thing is with the Us Weekly piece is that Meghan volunteered things, I think, that made them look incompetent. In her desperation to look as much of a nice manager as humanly possible, I think she also shot herself in the foot by making kind of weird statements. And obviously, as well, again, these are from her staff members, but I think she had a big, big, big role in what came out. But talking about how she makes these elaborate lunches and how everything looks great. And it was very superficial what they were talking about in many, many ways. But I think it undermined her in a lot of ways too, because you see all this and you're like, wait, what? What? It just doesn't make a ton of sense. Drusilla says, good morning, everyone from SoCal. Sarah, without an H, says, thank you, Ritz. Jessica Reed says, good morning from sunny Dane, Wisconsin, Princess Goose. I'm jealous of Meghan only because I'm a March baby and I love the aquamarine ring. I actually like the aquamarine ring too. I really do like it. Yeah, I think it's amazing. I'm also kind of growing on the sapphire. So when I did a whole video on the fashion channel, Royal Fashion News, if you haven't seen it, about Catherine's engagement ring. Because honestly, guys, I was never a big fan of the engagement ring when I first saw it. I was like, oh, but as I was looking more and more, I kind of realized that, you know what? Colored stones kind of make a bigger impact than diamonds in some ways. So I honestly was thinking to myself, I kind of like it because it kind of is unique and different than what you see generally. So I think I wonder too, sometimes I need to because I did a whole video talking about, because I do have an Issa London dress, the same type of wrap dress that Catherine had. I don't have it in the same color. Mine's a magenta. Hers is obviously this gorgeous, gorgeous blue. And I was thinking the other day, because it's like Catherine made her engagement dress, like her engagement dress is so stinking iconic. And Meghan chose the most bland, boring, basic, nondescript green dress possible. I still wonder if she wanted an emerald in her engagement ring, but her engagement outfit was horrible. It was so dull and basic. Like Catherine's, like, you see that dress and you're like, oh, I would love to see that dress displayed that she wore. And I would love to see Charlotte wear it. If Charlotte ever wears that dress and be like, oh, that'd be amazing. Just amazing. So Bobby says seeing Meghan wears Diana's aquamarine ring made me gag. So just so bad. Melanie Rose says, yay for gifted subs. I got one a few weeks ago and loving it. Good. And I'm so sorry, guys. Need to do something for this week. It's been just so crazy. So my big thing this week is I finally got, because I've been trying to separate work and life, I finally got a work phone, which might sound crazy, but it's desperately needed. Believe it or not, guys, on my phone, I have 125,000 images. That is not a joke. That is the actual number of pictures I have on my phone. So I'm trying to separate things a little bit. Melissa says, which Dan Wooten clip was Brittany on? Is it the PR one? Not the one I think he posted this morning. So it was really good, though. Sion says Maxima is really lucky because the Dutch jewelry collection is particularly magnificent. It is. It is magnificent. Bobby Estrella says, wow, the CBS interview is tanking. About time the rest of the world caught up with us. Yep. Sandra says, hello and good afternoon from the Netherlands. Nice to catch a live. Why, thank you. Sarah without an H, Harry was just a time filler for Jimmy Fallon. He was. Janine says, I was thinking about Harry's tattoo. Y'all, it's a bottle of Elizabeth Arden cream for mom. I still can't believe he admitted to doing that. It's like, oh gosh. Melanie says, I'm still laughing at Harry's statement. Parenting doesn't end at childbirth. Haha. Who is writing his speeches? Yes, it makes no sense. Like I finally kind of got it the more I started like externally processing it. But when you first hear it, it's like, what? You're not even parenting until the kid gives birth. Like again, yes, you're preparing for the child, but you're not parenting them until they give birth. And mostly for the parenting for the first little bit is just making sure they stay alive. And then, there are things you do afterwards. But it's like, do, 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 do. And it's like, what does that mean? I didn't understand. Teacher Ray Samantha, please make a reaction video about CVS extended video of Harry and Meghan. It was so bizarre. It was. I definitely need it. Need to do that. Bobby says, "Hi, Brittany. Love your red top. Red is definitely your color. Why, thank you." Julie says, "How does one go about getting a gifted membership? We really all enjoy your channel." Yes, I think there's some sort of setting. I don't know the exact though, but I think if you Google like how to turn on, how to get a gifted membership or something on YouTube, I think it'll share with you. Water says, "If Harry doesn't like our country's rights, then he can leave." Exactly. Brittany was on last night's Dan Wooten. Yes. JB says, I loathe that they use children as a smokescreen for censorship. Me too. And the grief of parents. Yeah. It's just not pretty. Tracy says, the live stream with all the dogs gave me so many heart feels. Has Miss Pippa made friends yet with the dog she didn't like? No, she really hasn't. She doesn't like Riley yet. That's his name. But apparently, so this was really sweet because Pippa's more of a person dog. She's not really a dog. And part of it maybe is me. We had a childhood dog that got attacked when I was younger and I was there and I saw it. And so it's like I recognize how quickly a bigger dog can hurt a small dog like her. So I just kind of keep all dogs away just out of an abundance of caution. She can also be a little fierce at times. So I took her to a boarding place and I was just a little, I don't want to say super nervous, but it was more of a place where they have the dogs out and in, groups a lot. And so I came back and she had been there a couple days. And they go, "We just love her so much." She hung out with us in the kitchen and apparently she made friends with the boy dog there. It's like a small boy Pomeranian and apparently they are now friends. And so maybe boyfriend girlfriend, I don't know. But anyways, apparently she followed him around quite a bit, but she got to spend a lot of time with the boarders and she just made friends with everyone because she loves people. And apparently, the thing is if you ever meet Miss Pippa, she likes to roll over on her back and give the belly. That is her favorite thing to do. So apparently every time somebody came into the kitchen, they had to pay the belly toll. So she is the sweetest. She's so sweet. But yes, she is doing well. All the dogs. Yeah, that was a funny bit. Julie says, "Good morning from Charlotte, North Carolina. We got Ritz. If both of them made an effort to do something kind and authentic, I would respect them, but they are so entitled and self-righteous. It won't happen." I agree. I agree 100%. They are self-righteous. They are entitled. They don't seem to want to work. And I don't like people who lecture at me. That's just not my thing. I like if you have something to say and you have something interesting, then yeah, like share it. That's fine. But they just don't seem to have anything interesting to say or offer. And when you really listen to what they're saying, like listen to Harry's, parenting thing, even without my lovely commentary. And it's just like pointless. It's pointless. Right? This fan, Jimmy Fallon just got markled. Yeah, he made it. He probably did. He probably did. But yeah, not going well for them. And thank you so much for your support. Peeper Jean says, "Good morning, everyone. Brittany, it was such a fun surprise to see you on David Wooten's show. You did a great job. Why, thank you." Sharon says, "Waiting for your video on the cult of Megan." Yes. I mean, it's kind of like weird. Yeah, it's kind of oh gosh, the cult of Megan. Their cope with this has been very interesting. But I don't want to rile them up too much because that's not really the point. Although some of it's just really fun to like read some of the comments and go, goodness. DSF says, "What? Harry has a tattoo of an Elizabeth Arden bottle." Thank you so much for the support. No, he doesn't quite have one, but that would be funny because he's all about mom, so he could do a heart mom tattoo somewhere. And if he got a tattoo, again, no worries, but I just hate like the weirdness of it. And then of course the NYPD was wasting its time trying to protect him. Because I think sometimes he makes himself more conspicuous. And I can't believe like reporters went down and were like grilling this tattoo parlor guy. Cause it's like, who cares if you went to a tattoo parlor? I really don't. Like, I would not make a whole video on him going to a tattoo parlor. Would I do a short? Maybe, but probably not. Cause honestly, I don't care. But it's just weird. And you just got to wonder too, midlife crisis? Would Megan approve of a tattoo? Who knows? This fan, thank you so much for the support. Where do you see the state of their marriage? It seems like separate business paths, but I wonder what's really going on behind the scenes. So I think a couple of things. Number one, the separate business paths, as some people have said, is indicative of a couple who could not essentially work together to, I don't want to say, could not work together to come up with a business, really. They failed as a couple professionally, but they didn't fail because they were they couldn't work together professionally. Because that's the excuse now of why they're going their separate ways. Oh, they didn't work as a power couple, so now they had to go their separate ways. That wasn't why they didn't work as a power couple. They didn't work. That is their fundamental flaw, I think, is they can't seem to work. And you have to be able to work. You have to be able to put in the effort. And again, I go back to Shark Tank. I would say if you are somebody who's starting a business or something like that, watch a couple seasons of Shark Tank. I think you'll find it helpful. It takes, especially as kind of it gets going. At some point, you kind of see the formula and you kind of get a little bored with it, and that's happened. I always like it when they get somebody really funny on or something, or like a really really wacky thing, and everybody's like, no, that's funny. But it gives you a perspective on like it takes a lot of work. So when I started this channel, I started with the intention I'm going to put a lot of work into it. I'm going to focus on it as if it's going to be my job, even though it wasn't. That was my direction and drive. And it was ended up being really successful. Now, the queen dying definitely helped, sadly. That month was the best month for growth I've ever had. But you can't plan for those things. But that time too, I was getting maybe 4 hours of sleep at night because I was working full time, driving home, which takes 45 minutes to an hour, walking my dog. Then I would film a video, then I would edit it. I would stay up until super late. So I was putting in a lot of extra effort and work. And I think that's our fundamental flaw. They don't want to work. They wanna do what they wanna do from time to time, hold endless meetings so they look important and can feel important, and they can give their staff something to do for 5 minutes, and then they don't do anything else. They don't accomplish anything, and that is, again, is a fundamental flaw. You have to be able to work and work hard, and yes, at some point too, you may be able to rest and just let things ride for a certain time, like, I don't think it would happen necessarily with this channel, but over time, like if I stepped away or something, the videos would keep churning and the money would be much less, but they would still keep producing. And so you have to put in that effort. So it's like if I went somewhere else and decided to go on a completely different track, I would have to grow it up from there, but this would always be chugging along. And Harry and Meghan don't have anything chugging along. They can't seem to develop businesses. She can't do two things at the same time, apparently. And he's just like a complete, it seems like, buffoon who can't do anything except for show up on Jimmy Fallon and give speeches written for him by somebody else. Like Harry seems to have like be bereft of anything to do. And so it's like that is their real problem. So even if they're separating professionally, that the issue was never that they couldn't work as a couple, just that they didn't work. But when it comes to the state of their marriage, again, I think we saw a lot of it, especially in August, with Harry being obviously uncomfortable, like them being uncomfortable around each other. Meghan almost essentially rolling her eyes at Harry at certain points when he opens his mouth. She is not happy when he talks. She would prefer he stay quiet and not say anything. And then you have, what is the next thing I'm thinking about? Obviously, Harry's tour. I think might have been the longest time he's been away from Meghan, because usually, as soon as he finished his things in New York, usually he would like immediately hop back on a plane to California, even if it was for a day, and then fly back again. All of a sudden, I feel like, he his most of his stuff, I think, ended technically on Wednesday. He did do the Jimmy Fallon thing whenever, maybe Thursday or Wednesday evening or something, but he's still in New York apparently, and now heading over to London. And it seems like he's spending more time away from her. Obviously, this was after even his trip with his buddies, so I just don't think they are, you could say, hanging out quite so much. I feel like, and I see it two ways. Either Harry's actually actively trying to move away from her, or she trusts him enough where she's like, okay, I've recalibrated your whole friend group, your whole personality. So now I trust you to go out on your own. Because it seems to be for a long time they were so attached at the hip that they had to do like everything together. And now that we have something a little bit different, it raises some interesting questions for sure. Peeper Jean says, and thank you so much for the support. In my opinion, Harry's odd comments on parenting just highlight that he most definitely doesn't spend any significant time around amount of time with his children. Yeah, I would kind of sort of agree with that. I don't think Harry spends a ton of time with them. I don't think Meghan spends a ton of time with them. Think about it. They travel a lot. They are, holding all these pointless meetings all the time. And I think they have I think they love their children. I don't think that's the issue, but I honestly don't, number one, see her as very maternal. Number two, I think she only really wants the kids when she wants the kids and doesn't like, if she wants to do something else, she doesn't want the kids around. And Harry, of course, in some ways has picked up on that because, I'm sure she wants everyone's attention always on her, including his. So if his attention is on the kids, I think she is jealous of that. So just something. Roder says, we don't have enough issues with the government at this point. We don't need Harry's fixes. No. Janice says, the Fallon's ship is sinking faster than Harry's. Yes. And like late shows, like late night shows are dead in the United States. I don't know anybody who watches them anymore. Paul says Meghan said that she had to tell Harry about her ideation. She also said that she was reluctant to tell Harry. Harry must have known it didn't happen, as he was the only one, if anyone, looking miserable at the time. Yes, I agree with that. Melissa says, do you think Harry and Meghan are close to divorce? I don't know if they're close yet, but I don't think they're necessarily happy. I mean, think about it. How much stress do they have in their lives? How many millions upon millions of dollars do they waste every year on needless security in Montecito? Yes. Do they need security? Of course. Do they need 24-hour follow me around, escort me around security? No. No, they don't need that. They would be perfectly, I think, in that community, I think they would be perfectly safe. It's a small knit community, so I don't think they need to walk around with security all the time. But it's their delusions of grandeur. They have to do that because they've told the world that they need it. So if they don't, they've set up this situation where they have to use it. If they don't use it, then people will think they don't need it, and that would wreck their whole thing. So Sue M says, I thought his speeches at UN General Assembly this week were weak and irrelevant. He looked like a poser he is. He did. And honestly, guys, too, this might sound really funny. I didn't really even watch any of his stuff because I was like, well, he's just screaming into the wind. Like nobody's going to do anything with what he says because he doesn't have any power. Again, all the power resides with the crown or an actual working world. Alice says, unfortunately, Harry has inherited his mother's unhealthy need for attention and also treats the press the way she did, calling them when he wants and then getting annoyed when they're not nice to him. That is 100% correct. It's 100% correct. Rich says, for Meghan Markle to take jealousy to this extent and drag it out for years and years shows how evil she really is, as her late majesty already knew. I actually don't, I don't believe Her Majesty ever called Meghan evil. I think that was made up by someone. I just cannot fathom Her Majesty. There are so many worse people in the world. I just can't fathom Her Majesty saying something like that. And so I just never really bought it personally. Helen says, hola from España. Good morning, afternoon, or night. Yes. Lizzie B says, it's just ingenuous, not authentic. Yes, so true. JB says, Harry's speech sounded like a public speaking method. That's good. DP says, greetings from Rainville, and congrats on your guest role on the Dan Wooten show. You were so very professional and ready for prime time. Congrats, Brittany. Why, thank you. Why, thank you. I need to clip it for, I don't know. I don't know if they still do like a pitch reel or something. That might be good to have. All right. PDD says, if when they get divorced, will she have to return Diana's jewelry or do you think she will accidentally lose them? I would think they are on loan to her while they are married. Thoughts? Yes. I don't think they are personally hers. I think they are technically owned by Harry and or William or both of them. So she can use them as long as she's married to Harry, but I think it'll be something demanded back. Emily C says, good morning, y'all. Excited for the live stream today at Raleigh, North Carolina. We got Vicky Volk says, good morning from Louisiana. Loved you on Dan Wooten. Meghan should have taken her majesty, the late queen's advice and never complained, never explained. Yes, I think there are times to make responses, but that response was not good. Not good at all. And it overly explained to the point where you think they're lying because they overdid it. See again. Demetra says, I bet Harry is having a lot of fun in NYC without Megsy. Seems like it. Suzanne says, greetings from Houston, Brittany. Happy to make a live today. I'm so glad. Lisa H says, surprised that they don't want to move to the UK now that Starmer is in. Seems more the kind of government they are advocating for. Probably. But again, if they can't get that security and if they admit they don't really need it, then they're screwed. And Matthew says, did the Queen Elizabeth II designate Diana's jewelry as lesser personal pieces and post-divorce? Harry has given some to Meghan and statement pieces she had used as a Princess of Wales that Catherine wears. Yes. I don't know exactly how everything was delineated out. I don't know if we'll ever get those details, but my guess would be is that those pieces that are considered significant to the state and those given as gifts from, let's say, foreign governments were considered the property of the crown. And I think they went back to the crown. You also don't have to pay inheritance taxes on it. So it actually made sense for her Diana to actually donate them to Her Majesty the Queen. Because that way, then the boys aren't in charge of paying taxes on those. And they would go back to the palace anyways, because of the eventual future Princess of Wales would eventually be queen. So it makes sense for it to go back into the vault. But like something like her aquamarine ring, I think was a personal purchase outside of her sphere as a royal. So that is something a bit more personal. So I think that could go into the pot that her boys get to choose from, more or less. And some of the other, like, I would say some of like the butterfly earrings and stuff, some pieces I would consider kind of like childish chintzy jewelry. Can definitely would be easy to pay inheritance taxes on. So I think they left some of that to more personal effects. But yeah, any of the statement pieces seems to have gone to the crown and now to Catherine. Meghan, if she had stayed in, she might have gotten to wear some different type of statement pieces. But of course, now she forces Harry to buy her all this chintzy, expensive jewelry so she can kind of mimic, but yet also not. I'm sure she was super mad that some of those pieces, especially those gorgeous, huge, although I don't know, they were hard to tell. Those huge diamond earrings that she had that were gifts probably for her marriage, since they were probably gifted technically to the crown, had to stay with the crown. She's probably not real happy about it. So she makes Harry as much as possible, buy her more. So Tracy McPherson says, Prince Harry going to Les Lotho to represent Centiball. The only time I hear about this charity is to do with polo. Coincidence? No. And it might be like, yeah, like a little part of to promote polo. But yeah, it's like it makes sense that he has a connection there to go to this country. But it's like, again, what does he offer? What does he offer? Archibald doesn't have that much money. It really doesn't. Like, in comparison to the Gates Foundation, what can Archibald offer you? A couple of drum sets, maybe a bit of a donation to help you with this room. Like, it can't offer you anything because it doesn't have anything. So it just amazes me the amount of money people put out to host them with zero return for it. Laner says, I think there was a Whittards at St. Andrews in Scotland. I saw a store as we were leaving on the bus. Not sure. There might have been. There probably was. Again, I think they have some of the best hot chocolate. My personal opinion. Chris Cook says, which Dan Wooten episode was Brittany on? I was on last night. And so the article is on and it's with Harry, obviously with Jimmy Fallon, because we talked a little bit about that. Demetra says, I heard Harry was paid to be on Fallon. I wouldn't be surprised if he was, but I don't know that for sure. Cyber Maven Tech Media says, I made it to a live. Mad props to you. Brittany saw you on Dan Wooten. He'd be smart to have you back as a regular. Why, thank you. Hey, thank you. Princess Goose says WME would say ignore it. If you acknowledge it, you imply it might be true. Also, it keeps the story in the news. Exactly. Exactly. I would have just ignored it. I would just ignored it and just let it ride. But I think she was so sensitive to it that she had to respond. And again, I think that just made it worse and it almost doubles down on the accusations, which is not what you want to do. Casey says Megan is still listed on WME's website under speakers. Sometimes it takes a while to change websites, so I wouldn't put too much stock in that. Laner says real royals do work. Yes, they do. Sarah without an H says Harry and the demon boss just made themselves look cheap. Yep. Just Me says, congrats, Brittany. I was there for it. Thank you. Water says, do you think when they divorce, King Charles will say she will not keep her title? That'll be interesting to see. I don't know the specifics, but Diana and Fergie both kept their titles, so I don't know about Meghan. Caroline says, "Oh, but if she does remarry, Megan does lose the title." And Matthew says, "I don't know if the RF have any control over Diana's jewelry. It belongs to William and Harry, and I would think yes and no. I think some of the cheaper stuff does, but again, some of her stuff I think was gifts technically to the crown for her. So again, probably was not within her personal possession, although she could use a lot of it, and she was still allowed to use a lot of it." Selma says, so pleased to see you on Dan Wooten. Glad Dan is using YouTubers more and more. Why, thank you. We got this. Blessings. Those of you who are saying negative things about Megan should come forward. I know they will never come forward because they are lying. You guys will never succeed in destroying Megan. Okay, that's kind of funny. Number one. Number two, nobody's trying to destroy Megan. She's kind of doing it to herself. If she treated people better, she wouldn't have these problems. Just my thought. Just my thought. Just treat people better. Just treat them better and you will have better results. This is not coming out of the blue. Where there's smoke, there's fire. This has been reported multiple times, including very, very reputable publications. So this is not really anyone's efforts. This is Megan's own behavior catching up with her. I'm so sorry. I know that burst your bubble. Blessings or blessing, but that is what happens. So just treat her. She should just treat her staff better. If she does that, she'll be fine. She'll be fine. Beverly says and work. She actually needs to work. That's the second thing. Treat her staff better and actually work, and then she might be successful. Just letting you know. Beverly Todd says the fact that WME did not stop the piece in the Hollywood Reporter says it all. As far as WME are concerned, Megan's toast. Yes. And if they've worked for her for a while and she's just an epic wreck, they're just like, yeah, just go. Just go. Go with the story. We don't care. All right, Stephen, thank you so much for the support. Archwell, Nigeria, $10,000 to UNICEF and Save the Children, which $10,000 to most of us is a lot. But when it comes to Harry and Meghan have a $15 million house and they can only give $10,000, that's because that's as much as they can give because they're running through the rest of their money pretty quickly. Because again, don't forget, their security costs a lot. Chelsea Stevens became a YouTube member. Why, thank you so much. Chelsea, I'm so glad you're enjoying the channel. Yeah, the wrong shoes says you were brilliant on Dan Wooten thing. Do you think Biebs Kelly was right that Netflix show will have to scrub Arrow from footage? So this is actually a really interesting question. So I said on Dan Wooten, which I think is true, and I think I repeated on the video last night, is she probably used products from American Riviera Orchard in the show. If she can't get the correct trademarks or can't trademark those specific products in that she puts on the show that she's made or whatever, then there's a situation here where she really in many ways is sort of screwed because she has things on the show that she can't sell because the whole point of the show is to sell things, I think. So if she can't sell things, then like what is she going to do? Like this is I think it's actually a huge, massive problem for her is that she filmed the show before securing all the stuff. What she should have done is secured everything for American Riviera Orchard, had the products ready to go, all the trademarks filed, everything in order, or patents. That's the word I'm looking for, patents. So if her particular products need patents and she hasn't secured them, then she might be using products that she initially designed and created, but then couldn't get patents for. So then you have a show where maybe you can't even sell, or maybe half the things that you put on there no longer exist in whatever form they initially came on it. That's a huge, huge, massive, massive problem for her. And if she can't secure the American Riviera Orchard name, that's also a huge, huge problem because again, she's filmed the show already. Again, which is so incredibly dumb because you might have wasted everyone's time. And again, if she can't get it out for Christmas, she's gonna have to wait a whole nother year. And granted, you can sell things throughout the year, that's fine, but this is a big push is right now. So in a couple weeks, I'll be going to the YouTube holiday house, which I'm so excited about because they gave me so much free stuff last year. And I was like so exciting because I don't get that much free stuff. So I was just super duper excited. And so this year I'm going again. And I mean, I'm trying to figure out how to be, you know, have the fashion side because the idea with the fashion channel was to have a bit more of like, being able to use affiliate links and stuff like that. But that hasn't totally worked out. And maybe that's fine. Maybe there's a different iteration if people want maybe a more personal channel. I can do that because some of the stuff on the fashion channel isn't quite working. So y'all guys will have to let me know at some point. But anyways, you get people who are able to be very, very successful with those kind of things. But Meghan is just, it's just a mess. I've never seen anything quite that bad. What I thought would be really funny though is what if Meghan showed up as she was touting American Riviera Orchard at that thing? That would be so I don't think she is. I don't think she is, but it would be funny. Lizzie B says, and not even a cash grab because she's not even selling anything on the website. No, no, no. And she doesn't even have a newsletter. Like you could even again, you can cultivate a following by doing something like a weekly newsletter and getting people excited for the brand. But no, she announced it, sent jam to the elite of the elite, and then nothing else. Horrible, horrible strategy. Horrible strategy. Mary Marr, another excellent week of your analysis videos. Why, thank you. Jen said, Harry and Meghan have latched on to the parents network. They did not found it. I hadn't heard that. Wendy Van Rokel, any decent PR company would not want to admit representing him. They obviously do not take advice. No, which again goes to show and prove that the Hollywood Reporter article was right. Tanya says, I just got out of work. Better late than never. So glad you could join. Water says, do you think Harry laughs when and speaks well with people? It's real. You like a Mimi. Yeah. Janine says Harry is well trained. He knows what to do and can do it well when he wants. That's true. That's true. PDD says WME won't drop her. My daughter-in-law is repped by them and they take a percentage of any income, even on jobs she finds. So any money Meghan is making, WME is taking 20% agency, 15% agent fees, even if not promoting her. Very interesting. Yeah, I wouldn't be. I mean, it's hard though, because I think the thing that could be different is Meghan going rogue so much and damaging her future business prospects. I think that would be annoying. So yes, I could see them still sticking around, absolutely cringing at what she's done, and just waiting until American Riviera Orchard rolls around and hoping to make a good cut of that. Because the sad thing too is Harry and Meghan are so incompetent. They're losing cuts and cuts and cuts of the profits that they could be making from these next productions because their first three, as far as I'm aware, were pretty much on their own. These next two, they have production partners. I think because Netflix is going, we're not funding anything unless you get somebody with you because you guys both really suck at this. And we can't trust you to do this on your own and actually create something decent. And so they will lose out on any profits. I mean, they'll still get profits, but they could have gotten more profits if they did not have production partners. And when it comes to Demi and me, now that they are going to cut into American Riviera Orchard. Trina says, I love the interview with Dan. Cringe watching the haunted house. Why? Oh, why? Frivolous, kind of questionable. What kind of Whittards chocolate should I buy? I mean, you can buy any version. I actually just like the traditional luxury hot chocolate. It's probably pretty much my favorite right now. The coconut is pretty good. They had a cinnamon one. Sorry, I think I knocked the camera. And I am so bummed they took that one away. It was so good. It was so good. And I'm so bummed I saw it on the website and I'm so bummed I didn't order more at the time. Didn't think they would take it away. I thought it was fabulous. The luxury is good. Obviously, they have salted caramel, cookies and cream. They had Rocky Road for a while. They've had a couple of different versions, but I really like the traditional hot chocolate, just the luxury hot chocolate. And I liked their Christmas version when they came out with it last year. Oh, they have an apple strudel hot chocolate. I do wanna try that just for kicks and giggles. Teresa says, "A good morning from Detroit. I think the only thing things are only going to get worse. Fortunately, they put a lot of bad karma out there and only come back to them." Yes, I think so. I think so. DS says, "If Harry and Meghan divorced, will she get half of everything? Was there a prenup before they married? If so, what was in it? Your thoughts?" I think there was probably a prenup, mostly protecting palace property, palace items, anything with historic significance to the UK. Now that they're in California, she might get a more 50-50 split. So I guess inheritance, though, she probably won't get. We have a royal highlights. Good afternoon from Scotland. She had it all, but he did not want to be second best and thought she could get it in her own country, but didn't bank on the American people who clearly love the royals. Yes, and they just have behaved pretty deplorably. Like in her effort to get her story out there, she threw the entire royal family under the bus, and people just didn't really appreciate it. Sunflower says a 40-year-old man acting out in a haunted house. I thought Harry was growing up. Yeah, I mean, it's not a surprise for Jimmy Fallon. I am not impressed with Jimmy Fallon. He like so overdoes it. But yeah. Margaret says that Brittany, that woman doesn't believe she has any deficiencies. No, she doesn't. No, she doesn't. Susan says she hires the best and doesn't listen to them. Yep. Yep. Christina says, good morning, everyone from Maryland. I'm fighting a nasty headache, but can't miss Brittany. I loved you on Dan Wooten. Why, thank you. Sue M says she clearly not only messed up Harry's life, she messed up her children's lives by choking them in conspiracy and has ruined the fabric of two families. Yes. Yeah, I think she really has. I feel sorry for their kids. I do. Kimberly says, I would love to know what Little Miss Feminist pays her employees. Does Megan uphold feminist values when paying females? Yeah, it would be lovely to know because sometimes those people who scream the loudest are the worst offenders. Yep. Lizzie B says, even Gwyneth Paltrow, who has her own brand, has said she hired two CEOs because she says, I don't know what I'm doing. A brand is not just an IG account. It takes a lot of work. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Melissa Potty says, awesome job on Jan Wooten Brittany. Thank you. Nora Gonzalez says, Bronx NYC person here. Love your coverage, Jays. Why, thank you. Janine Walsh says, it's a parent's responsibility to censor their children's social media and access to it, not Harry and Meghan's and not the government's. Yes. Yes. I totally agree with that. Yes, there are things you cannot control. And, there are things I think the social media companies can do better. But Harry's and Meghan's shtick is pretty much, well, they give their kid an iPad, apparently without any supervision, and like, well, the kid could just be playing on an iPad in a separate room and something terrible could happen. I'm like, but why is your child on an iPad in a separate room? I think you could avoid that. Like, I know people, and yes, their lifestyle might not be for everyone, and their beliefs might not be the same as a lot of people's, but they raise their children kind of, you could say, the old-fashioned way. They don't spend a lot of time with media, whether that's TV, they don't really have iPads. They spend their time together as a family doing different things. It is entirely possible. It takes a lot of intention to do that, but it is something achievable. And Harry and Meghan strike me as absent. I don't know, want to say neglectful, but maybe I don't know. Indifferent parents or something? Because they're basically advocating for, well, it's the social media jobs to, help me with my bad parenting, basically. And I was like, no, it's not their job to do that. You have the power to censor as much as possible. Now, granted, you can't do everything, but you have the power to do a lot of different things with social media. You're choosing not to, and that's the difference. Sally McPhee says she wants to hire, but no one wants a job. No. Deborah says, where can the Dan Wooten be seen? So you can Google Dan Wooten and probably Royal News Network, and it should come up. Creative Chaosify said, Mercury News did a great article on how conservation groups like Africa Parks buy up African land, remove its people, and bring in mining companies. Yes. So World Gone Mad says, Brittany, I was not able to watch your video with Dan Wooten. Unfortunately, I got a notice that says it was blocked by NBC. I think that was switched. I think that was able to be fixed. So you should be able to see it now. And I think think that's I think that should be able to be fixed. Because my family first had that first thought too. Because I thought, especially with some clips, that's why my clips were so short of Harry and Jimmy in the haunted house, because I knew I imagined the copyright would be pretty strict. And Matthew says, "Don't royals not have tattoos to avoid identifying marks of kidnapping?" That I do not know, but actually, King Frederick of Denmark. So this is the father to Queen Margrethe or Margaret of Denmark. He had many tattoos actually. So, and he would ride through the center of Copenhagen, kind of taunting the Nazis during World War II. Pretty epic. Pretty epic. Margaret says, "Thank you, Brittany. You are right. We wouldn't care if they lost their titles." Exactly. I think the whole world would just, shrug and go, "Okay." Especially the UK, and that's where it matters. Kickoff, he says, "They waited too long to get a payday for the kids. Everyone knows they are desperate for a paycheck and will show the kids for attention only." Yeah, I just honestly don't think anybody cares. Like, I don't care. I don't really care. But I think it's annoying too that they make such a fuss over their kids and like, "Well, you can't see them. They're private." And they're like, "Well, then don't talk about them." Oh, Jojo says, "I don't like Dan Wooten. He was on Amber Heard's side, and we all seen the court trial between Johnny and Amber, and he's never apologized, so I don't watch him, but I'm happy and proud for you." Why, thank you. Why, thank you. Isa Texas says, "I hope Megan doesn't take her frustrations out on the kids." Yeah, we will. It'll be interesting to know how things end up once they're grown. Oops. Let's see. Margaret says, "You were definitely one of Dan's a better guest." Why, thank you. Lisa says, "Soft launch is like a pop-up store." Yeah, like there you can do soft launches, but I don't think that's really what happened. Tracy McPherson, thank you so much for the support. Is Netflix holding on so they can't sign with another streamer until the value is so low, not worth being signed? Not nice, but Spotify dropped them very quickly. That could be definitely a possibility. That could definitely be a possibility. Netflix is like, they're like any company. They're wanting to get their pound of flesh. I think the agreement was for 5 years, and so they do have to push it for at least 5 years. And they're like, "Okay, we're gonna try to like it's pulling teeth, but we're gonna try to get as much out of you two as humanly possible until that deal ends." And then after that, I mean, I think their reputation is already damaged. Meghan and Harry did not get a big payday for their next podcast deal, which was just Meghan, and it was just basically Lemonada would get a cut of whatever money she made from the podcast and help her put it on. That was it. They weren't paying them like $10 million cash to start it. And so they've already lost, you could argue, $20 million in capital for podcast deals just based on that. So, like, if somebody was to sign me to a podcast deal, which would be interesting, is that it would be entirely possible that what they would do, maybe, I mean, although I have a big audience now and I'm pretty consistent with content, so I might actually technically in some ways get a better deal than Harry and then Meghan. Not really, but they might actually pay me to do part of a podcast, but then also cover the expenses. And so then we would split whatever was earned by ad revenue and those sorts of things. That might be a possibility. Because I have an actual track record now. The thing is they all signed Harry and Meghan with the belief and understanding that they actually wanted to be in the entertainment industry. I don't know I don't know what business Harry and Meghan want to be in. They haven't told us. They seem to jump from thing to thing to thing to thing to thing. There seems to be no purpose. So I think the rest of the world is like, okie dokie, what do we do? So I think that's kind of the big challenge, I would say, is that they don't seem to have any like once the Netflix deal ends, what can you say about Harry and Meghan? Unless there was a rapid increase in quality in their next two documentaries, and that would be because of the production partners they're with, not with Harry and Meghan. They're not really producers. They're not really content creators. They're not really executives. They got nothing. They got nothing. Oh, Stephen gave us some support as well. Parents Together Foundation, Archwell gave 50K. So that is probably, and they're like, "Oh, we should make it Parents Network, and we can help you guys because we got influence here." Paul says Harry and Meghan don't want to work. They expect everything handed to them. Their charity is all about them, including most of the money. Yes. There's just not anything going in the good direction. Julie says, great question. Where's Omid Scobie? Why has he not defended Markle? Okay, so Omid Scobie, and he did do a post, and now I can't remember where I put it. I screenshot it on this one, but it was just so funny. Gosh, golly. What did he say? He said something to the fact that Harry's seen much scarier in the Royal Rhoda or something dumb like that. And I'm like, that is the dumbest comment ever. Let me see here if I can find it real quick. Sorry, we got multiple things going now. So let's see what Omid Scobie said. Something very dumb. So for the Jimmy Fallon thing, so Omid goes, the man saw much scarier in the Royal Rhoda. And I'm like, that is so dumb. That is such a dumb statement to make. And Owen Scobie's whole issue is he didn't think that the Royal Rhoda treated him like he wanted to be treated. And so he's just going, it's just so ridiculous. It's so ridiculous. And so he's like, he hates on the Royal Rhoda, but he was desperate to be part of them. The Owen Scobie's issue is he hasn't ever really been appreciated for the genius he thinks he is. He's so much like Meghan. And so he's working on some sort of show, but we'll see if that goes anywhere. Cause yeah, most shows connected to royals don't always go super well, but he's, doing one on the Royal Rhoda. And so there'll be somebody who doesn't get the respect they deserve because they're, breaking barriers or whatever, which he wasn't breaking barriers. He was just a bad journalist, in my opinion. And they knew he was kind of a shill, and that's why they didn't really pay him much attention. Caroline says, Omid has been really quiet since he released his last book, like he has gone underground. Well, he does have to salvage some of his reputation because it got pretty wrecked with Endgame, which was awful. I haven't actually read it yet. Aaron says, can you link the Dan Wooten episode you were on? Yes, I'll probably try to put it in a community post today. It's also linked in the last video I did. Channel Watch says, Brittany, do you think the Wales, the kids will eventually work and marry younger than their parents because of the lack of royals? Love your channel. I think they'll definitely work more. But yeah, beyond that, I don't know. I don't know. Oh, he's got a couple. Harry and Meghan stands, don't believe you, haters. Is that all you can say? All you can say, Marie? Yeah, try actually having an argument. So don't just call people haters, actually have an argument. Stephanie says Dan Wooten treats the false allegations about him to being contrived Harry and Meghan Sussex squad to get back at him for exposing reporting on them, including Mexit and Meghan making Catherine cry. I would not be surprised about that. Stella says they attach their names to a charity. They don't do any work. They bring snacks to people in the kitchen. They are ridiculous. They are. Leslie says, Brittany, congrats on the Dan Wooten appearance. So wonderful to see you there. Just an aside, have you tried the new apple strudel hot chocolate from Whittard's? I have not, but I saw it and I was like, oh gosh, I kind of want that. Kind of want to try that. Like it seems really interesting. Stella says the Oprah interview was outrageous. Only made me pay more attention to the rest of the working royals, and I like them. They are nice. They are lovely. Hannah says, love your show. Why, thank you. And it says, also love all the frequent videos. Why, thank you. I try to, because guys, I want to talk about this stuff. I mean, I wish I could. Sometimes I think I maybe just may do another more thing or live thing. Just because there's so much it feels like going on these last couple of months. And like there's just so much to talk about. And there's so much I want to talk about. And so you guys are like my friends. You get to hear me ramble and rant and rave from time to time. But hopefully in a articulate and also analytical manner. Kay says, good morning. I hope everyone is safe this morning with the hurricanes and all the storms. Yes. Kay Coffee says, Central Florida here. I live just outside the hurricane evacuation zones and can enjoy the hurricanes in a safe zone, but it sounds like some safe zones got flooded this time. Yeah, I think it was definitely a kind of crazy like, it was kind of a weird thing because it's like the hurricane's all the way down there, and yet there's flooding all the way up north. It's fascinating. So a lot of love for Miss Pippa when she comes on. Yes, she does. Yes, she does. Azuma says, I heard that Catherine might be at the Christmas service. Yes, there it seems to be a plan to have Catherine at the Christmas service. And so I'm really hoping. So Judith says, good morning from Tennessee. Stephanie says, Megan doesn't seem to know any Shakespeare at all. Odd for an actress. So many people have commented about the Us Weekly articles saying, the lady doth protest too much. Methinks. Watch Hamlet, Megan. So true. So true. Aw, so much love for Miss Pippa. She's a good girl. She's laying down on the fluffy blankets on the floor. Music Lover says, great job on Dan Wooten. Thank you. Ritz, that live you did with all the family dogs was insanely cute. A happy house for sure. Yeah, they're their own little pack. But we have lost again. We've lost our patriarch Maverick. Oh, I still miss him. He would come over here and hang out with me and Miss Pippa because he was just kind of an old man at that point, and they had a puppy, and the puppy was rambunctious and kind of butted heads, and so it's like, well, he can just hang out for me with the weekend. We go for a walk, and he would love that. He got all drooly. Judith J says, Us Weekly is a gossip rag. That was her choice to go against reputable Hollywood reporters. So obviously it was only outlet that would say exactly what she spews. So obvious, what a narcissist. Yes, I agree. It was like the only publication that would reflect exactly what she wanted them to. Exactly. So Constangel Coastal Angel. Hello. I feel like Harry put the money in Archwell because he said he was going to donate a portion to of the money. This goes all the way back to Harry. Yeah, I would agree with that. I agree with that. It makes sense. Ooh, somebody's so that's yeah, I agree with that for sure. Somebody was Worcester, not Worcester. Worcester. I would not. That would not be my first way I would pronounce it. But I figured I was probably pronouncing it wrong. So that was a while ago. Hannah says Dan Wooten segment was great. Why, thank you. Roxanne says, hi, Brittany. Your channel is my top choice, and I loved you on Dan Wooten. Why, thank you. I appreciate that. Helen says, now he's in the US. Will it say mom or mum? That's a big question. What if they do it wrong? That's why I love I think tattoos are kind of cool. And I actually watched a bunch of ink videos like early in the pandemic about how they do tattoos and everything. And I was like really fascinated by like the kind of the artistry mindset behind it. But I'm like, if somebody did something wrong and it's like permanently scarred on my body, I would not be able to handle it. Just saying. Kristen says, I really hope Megan writes a book after Harry. It's going to have the same negative impact the Endgame had for Owen Scobie. After that, there's nothing left. Yeah. Again, Harry and Meghan could do themselves so many favors by actually working. Creative Chaosify says Harry has a history, has many examples of spares turning on their royal families. Harry is hardly the first. No, he is not. Many of them have. K Coffee says, I'm going to watch Dan Wooten after this too. You should. Mariana says, Brittany, you were great on Dan Wooten. Why, thank you. I appreciate it. Creative Chaosify says, do you think there will ever be an employee lawsuit against Meghan? I mean, there could be, but it'd have to be really serious. I think mostly they just want her to get a little bit of her just desserts. So Sunflower says, great theory, Brittany, on the Hollywood Reporter story. It makes absolute sense. I do not think the story is over yet. No, I think more will come out. Texas Sunshine says, you were great on Dan Wooten. Why, thank you. So Patty Graffis says, Andrew is a blood royal too. That doesn't make him any better than Harry. In my opinion, Harry is much worse than Andrew. Yeah, Harry and Andrew, I mean, they're both kind of two peas in the same pot. And there's a lot of, worse spares out there in some ways. And there's a lot of royal families dealing with a lot of issues. You got Norway, Spain, Belgium, the sort of spare, although I think he's technically the second spare. Prince Laurent is still hurt that he's not the heir or not as important anymore. And he's like, I'm going to get citizenship in Italy. Like, okie dokie. Little silly. Horror Beauty FX says, "Do you think Harry will move to when he gets divorced? He's burned all his bridges in England, US. We don't want him either." I think he's gonna be kind of stuck here though, because his kids are stuck here. Unfortunately for him. Mariana says, "Go to Dan Wooten, let him know you want to Brittany back." Yeah. So Lady Daisy said, "That's very true. I forgot those poor penguins." Denise says, "I hope Dan Wooten has you back on. This segment was great, Brittany." Why, thank you. So yeah, Bonnie Fells says State Farm and Farmers Insurance canceled insurance in California. Yes, that's what I definitely heard. So that's a big issue. Georgie says, "Do you mean hurricanes? They are the reason Florida homeowners pay out the wazoo for insurance." Yes, but apparently California too. California too. You might be able to salvage maybe more of a home in a case of flooding, but in fire, like your house might be gone. Yeah, so it's kind of interesting though. K Coffee says home insurance in Florida is going up with crazy increases. I'm not in a hurricane zone. I've never had a claim, but and it keeps going up. Yeah, it's kind of unfortunate. Mama Bridge said, "Didn't she wear the sapphire one during the Queen's funeral?" I think she wore the pearl one. That's what she wore, and I think that was technically Her Majesty's. So she hasn't ever worn the sapphire one yet. RC says Diana's famous broker is choker is actually a brooch that can be converted. Very cool. Becky. The Us magazine, so cringe. Everything she supposedly did for her employees are also all the things from her wannabe lifestyle. Yes. Yes. Mariana says Catherine gave Anne some of the personal jewelry she got from the Queen. I don't really think that's true. Because again, so much of it more than you might think is actually probably owned by the crown estate. This again is how they avoid inheritance taxes because if you leave it to basically the crown, you don't have to pay inheritance taxes on it. So most of the queen's stuff, personal items were probably left to the crown but designated to be used by certain people in the future. Lady Daisy said, "Brittany, apparently the Prince of Wales requested Harry's wife stop wearing his mom's jewelry in public." Apparently. No, I don't think that's true. Demetra says, "I have an aquamarine ring. I get many compliments." I do kind of want an aquamarine ring at some point. I do need a bit of a ring because this one is a little too loose. So I want something to go on top of it, but I have an idea of what I want. So we'll see if that comes to pass because it's a little too tight on my middle finger. So I feel like I need just something like this is a 6, and I feel like I need like a 5.75, and it would be good. So Princess Goose says, "I like non-diamonds as a major gem in the engagement ring because it's so unique. I always loved Diana's ring. I didn't always like it quite as much, but again, I feel like I've grown an appreciation for it." Ritz says, "I meant to say Crown Princess Victoria has a traditional ring like what we have in America. She's not the only bride to have diamond rings." Oops. Yeah, plenty of them do. Not a ton of do, but yeah, it's pretty cool. Daisy says, "It's funny how Harry doesn't like his host country's rights, but he loves them for himself. Weird." Yep. Yep. Oh, yes. So Stephanie says, "Dan Wooten's outspoken channel video title immature and unroyal." Brittany, Prince Harry is slammed on TV show as damning story emerges about Meghan Markle is the one Brittany is on. Yes, that's true. That's true. So Joan G says, "Not to brag, but I have much nicer jewelry than Meghan Markle, including a 15 karat dark blue sapphire necklace. It makes me smile when I see Meghan's trinkets." Yeah, I always feel like her jewelry is really expensive but trinkety. And I'm like, "Golly, you waste so much money on this trinket jewelry that you wear once or twice. Like she must have tens, like hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of trinket jewelry." Sorba Barik says, "I'm still unclear on what the benefits of the Parents Network is to the parents or what its support it offers. Ephemeral feel good while parents use their time to write and Archwell collects." Yeah, it just doesn't seem to do much. So Michelle asks, "What happened on Jimmy Fallon?" So in case you don't know, Jimmy Fallon apparently has created a haunted house within Rockefeller Plaza. And so it's called To Nightmares. And so he had Harry go through, I guess, to promote it. But yeah, it just kind of came across as tacky, in my opinion. Lisa H says, sometimes I see a person with one lone poorly chosen tattoo, and I always think, "What a rookie." Yes, what I learned, in case you ever need to know, what you never go into the first shop you see. Make sure you figure out what design you want and what artists will be best suited to create that design for you. That is what I learned from Inked. Deandra says, "Hi, Brittany and everyone. I came late. Sorry, probably mentioned this, but I see GB News and Dan Wooten said Harry and Meghan splitting up. Is this true? I have not seen this, but it might have been in reference to what kind of everyone's talking about is them separating business wise. Like they're going down their separate paths as a business, and that's not a huge surprise. And so I would imagine that might be what he's talking about." Maria O'Connor, this live hit the like button. Yes, thank you. Couple of jars of jams and dogs treats. Yes. I always think I'm like, is that what Harry is like, selling? He's going around New York going, jam for sale, jam for sale. Annie Anonymous says you did great on Dan Wooten. Why, thank you. Stone says Harry was screaming like a little girl on that Jimmy Fallon show. He was, he was, he was. Mademoiselle Rhapsody says the lecturing thing Harry does ruins it for me. Yeah, it's like he's like trying to talk and be like all lectury, and I'm like, number one, I don't think you know what you're talking about. So, Adopt a GDX says, I thought on Dan Wooten you sounded very professional and reasonable versus some who share sound bites and sensationalism. So well done, Brittany. Thank you. Yes, I always try to base everything I say in what could seem to be elements of truth. And granted, obviously, not all the time are my propositions, you know, or you could say predictions or whatever, come to fruition, although most of the time they're at least elements of them are true. And that is how I do it. And again, base everything off good reporting and you tend to not go wrong. That's just my opinion. But Stone says, do you think Megan is going to do a pap walk soon? Yes, probably. Probably. Francis, just saying hello from South Korea. It's 12:33 a.m. here. Well, Francis, I hope you enjoyed it and hope you can get a good night's sleep. SEJ says, Brittany, I remember when you recoiled in horror when I called the utter narcissist a demon. That was about a year ago. I knew I was right because I know someone like her. Yeah, I mean, I'm always careful about going too far. Like, and I felt I kind of hated the video in some ways of like angel versus demon, but like that I did this week. But it's like, but that's the two visions of Megan we're getting. Is some people say she's basically so perfect she's angelic, and the other is that she's a psycho demon. And so it's like, well, I mean, like, the title writes itself, like, you can't blame me. Laura says, "Good morning, Brittany. You looked beautiful on Dan Wootten's show. He has mentioned you before, and I was happy to see you as a guest." Why, thank you. Susan says, "Saw you on Dan Wooten. You were great, and you were brilliant." Why, thank you. NAA says, "You are wrong, Brittany. She doesn't need to treat her staff better. She needs to treat them well, all the time." Yeah, yeah. Annie Anonymous says, I think Ari at WME has hung Megan out to dry. The bell has told her time has come. Yeah, they might be still getting money out of her, but I don't think they really have her back. Because honestly, as well, at this point, I don't think anything she does really makes anybody any money. Like she generates headlines, but very little in actual conversion. And that's what we've seen before is that, yes, headlines are generated, but people aren't converting to consuming the product. And that's a big problem. So Sharon says, that's so interesting. I learned so much about product and website distribution from you. Thanks. Why, thank you. I just learned it from jobs over time. I'm not perfect, but I'm one of those people, I tend to analyze things. That's just kind of what I do. And if I see something that's interesting, I just do enjoy it. SCJ says, what does a YouTuber have to achieve to be invited to the holiday thing? What is it? So they have obviously the YouTube shopping. So you'll notice, guys, I tag products and stuff in the videos and everything. And so I don't know exactly, but I got an invite last year and it was actually more through the fashion channel. And I was super duper excited because I was like, oh, this sounds so fun. And it was very, very fun. And I met someone who I've watched her channel from time to time. Her name is Cassie Thorpe, I think it is. And she's British and she likes luxury stuff. And so I enjoyed that. I thought it was fun. Stargirl Evan Terrace, is there any way to watch your Dan Wooten interview later after the live stream? Yes, go to search Dan Wooten Outspoken, probably Royal News Network. It should come up. So James F. Farthing says, I have tremendous respect for your work. Please publish any incontroversial proof, unaltered evidence you have your discussions about the children of Mr. Ms. Parkle. So I have done a couple of videos on the surrogacy things. I've always been a person who has been on the train of they do have kids. My issue is I think Meghan always has wanted to play games, and it's a way for her to exert a level of control, and I just think it's played badly for them overall, to be honest. I just think it's played horribly badly for them. And I don't think it, and I think to me, and this might sound bad, but I kind of think it's 100% true, is that Meghan gained a decent amount of weight with both her kids and really struggled to lose it. And that is not body shaming. That was just like, wow, it's like she's too much of a narcissist to carry that much weight unless she was struggling to lose it. And that to me, I was like, okay, yeah, you did have your kids. All right. That's to me, that actually is what convinced me. It's how long it took her to lose the weight because she was playing games. And I was like, surrogacy? That might be a possibility. But also, it's really hard to have a surrogacy in the UK. And if the child was born to another woman, that woman would technically be the child's mother, and there would have to be an adoption process. And so it's just too complicated. So it just doesn't make a ton of sense. In the US, it would be much easier. But also, again, she gained a lot of weight, struggled to lose it. So yeah, Babette says, I'm actually pretty liberal, but I also have some common sense. You don't let your kid play on the highway and you don't leave them alone on the internet. Yes. Yes, I feel like that's I mean, that's such a simple lesson, kind of like the lesson from Diana's car crash is to be everyone should wear a seatbelt. Like Harry never mentions that. She might be alive today if she had worn her seatbelt. Why doesn't he say the first thing is, as parents, we have the power to determine how our children access the internet. And we exert that by doing certain things that are, yes, challenging, like limiting their access when everybody else has it. But this seems to be that they don't really care in a weird way. They're just like, oh, yeah, I mean, you got to keep up with the Joneses, and the Joneses gave their kids iPhones, so we should too. Like, that's kind of how they did in what was it? And their mental health thing in New York City in October. It's Megan like Reagan says, Brittany came off very well. I hope you get more spots like that. Get that cash. Well, it's not really something you do for monetary opportunities, but it is nice. Like if you became on a major network a contributor, then there is that you do get a like some sort of stipend contract with that. But you just pop up from time to time. You don't, and that's fine. Francis Grace, interesting question. Were you on Team William or Team Harry pre Meghan? So I did like Harry pre Meghan. I did like Catherine and William, but sometimes too, I had read some other things about they could work more, and I thought, you know what, I don't think that's necessarily wrong. And then over time, it and Harry could have been fine, but it's like everything changed with Meghan, and I knew Meghan was bad news from the jump because she was immediately courting the press and playing games with the press. And that won't work if you're the wife of the spare. That just won't work. And so I knew that was immediately really problematic. So Angela says, whose speeches will cause you to completely break while listening to them, Harry or Meghan? Perhaps both. I mean, I got to the thing, I said in the video, I'm like, there is so much dumb being spoken here that it's hard to process. And it was hard to process. Creative Chaosify, apple strudel, hot chocolate. I am sold. Yes. Water says, you explain royal history really well. You should do videos about the history of other royals, like the one about Spain, one about Norway. I want to so bad. I do. And the only reason I don't do it is because of the time constraints, really. And maybe at one point, if I think things are good, I may not make as not much content on this channel and attempt to grow something more on history because I love history. I love it. I would love to talk about it all the time, but it does take a lot of time to research things and research things well. And I definitely want to, always feel like even online, there's so much misinformation about history. I want to make sure I have a pretty good understanding of something before I proceed forwards. And so that way I can speak truth and illuminate things in an interesting way. So I do have an idea for something, and I was reading a book and I lost track of the book again, and I'm kind of bummed about it. And I'm sure it's here. But it's actually a really short it's great because it has little short synopsises of each of the English kings and queens, which is great. It's called um I think it might have been Divorced, Beheaded, Died, but I think it's Born, Beheaded, Died. And so I really like that. I really like that. So yeah, I think that would be really, really fantastic. And I want to do that. And actually a podcast. So I like Kate Coffee says, Brittany, you should try for a Spotify podcast. I joined for Brittany. Yeah, I would love to do one. I would love to do one. And because I do have an idea for something, but it's just again, like I started reading the book for it because I wanted to have the idea. And I don't want to share the idea, not because I don't want to share it, but because I don't want anybody to steal my idea before I get it to fruition. But there's something I really, really want to do. It'd be like a multi-years long project. And I'm really excited about the idea of it, but it's just like getting the time to do the research so that I can create something really, really good. And I'd love to do that. I mean, it'd be nice almost to take like a month or two off the channel and just like fully devote to that. I would probably have to have a partner to do that with, but I have a really amazing idea. Sharon says, I'm missing some royal jewelry and tiara news. So I'm going to work because I haven't been able to do it. And I wanted to do a video this month about kind of ranking because I have a best and worst of aquamarine tiaras. But I was going to do like a best and worst of sapphire ones. But honestly, I don't have a strong enough opinion on most of them to do a best and worst list, if that makes sense. But there's a couple I want to do a video on. So to end up the month, I will probably try to do a couple because I do really want to do them. World Gone Wild says, Brittany, I live in NYC. We really don't care about celebs roaming our streets. We are way too busy to keep safe from crazy people. We walk so fast. We don't care if it's a fake Prince or Lady Gaga. Yeah, that's kind of my thought. Birdie says, my birthday is in December, so I have a beautiful London topaz in my engagement ring. My husband was also born in December. It's so pretty. That's lovely. I love it. Mary Manky Mumu says, Brittany, how's your ankle foot healing up? I'm looking forward to your review on how comfortable brands of shoes that Royals use. Yes, I'll have to try them on today and see again if my toe is better. It doesn't bother me much except for if I put on high heels, then I feel it. It's kind of funny. I like jammed my toe into the cement while walking Pippa. I'm not sure quite how I did it, really, to be honest. I was like kicking my foot up or something, and I just jammed it so hard. And I really thought I broke it there for a second. And then I was like, oh, no, I didn't. But it's still bothering me weeks later. I'm like, I probably broke it. I don't know quite what I broke, but it's fine. I've already broken things in that foot. It's okay. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see. So we'll probably go ahead and wrap this up here in a second. But I got to the end. Yes, P Pacific says a tidbit today's Greek royal bride, Princess Theodora, was born in Lindo Wing in London, just like many of her British royal cousins. That is awesome. She's also wearing like a kind of a famous kind of family tiara within the collection. It's really cool. Gorilla says, yes, I saw Brittany on Damoon. Awesome as always. Margaret says, divorced, beheaded, died, divorced, beheaded, survived was King Henry VIII's wives. Yes, but it's also part of this book. And again, I can't remember what the title is, but it was really nice. I wanted to share it with you guys as soon as I got it done. And I wanted to show it, but now I can't find it. I'm sure it's somewhere. I just got lost in the that's my of everything. Peeper Jean says, I'm on the fence with the pregnancy conspiracies. And thank you so much for the support, Peeper. Okay, I gotta say, every time I see your picture, it reminds me of my cousin. So I always think, I was like, oh, that's my cousin. I'm like, no, that's not my cousin. But you look like a bit like my cousin. And it says, at this point, nothing would surprise me. Too many lies, weird stories about the kids have been told, like the miscarriage burial story. It's disturbing. Yeah, I don't believe every story Harry and Meghan have spun about certain things. But definitely for sure, I do believe that, they are the kid. They do have two children. They are theirs. And definitely in the UK, a surrogate could not have been used. It just would have been way too complicated. And when it comes to the US, that's more of a possibility. But again, you have the weight issue that hung on for a good 6 months, almost to a year. And Megan's too narcissistic, I think, to keep that weight on unless like she would not, because some people have told me before, they're like, oh, she gained weight just to sell the pregnancy. And I'm like, she's too narcissistic. She would want to jump back just like Catherine. So to not jump back just like Catherine, I think would have been pretty hard for her. And so I don't think she would have done that. But yeah, they've spun a lot of tales. They've I think made a lot of mistakes, and they've just kind of been here, there, and everywhere. So I'm just not. Yeah. I understand why the conspiracy here's the thing. I understand why the conspiracy theories exist, because Harry and Meghan fueled them. They 100% fueled them unnecessarily, not telling people when she was in labor and kind of trying to mislead people around the time of the birth, like, just confirm the conspiracy theories that already existed. That was their time to clear things up and go, "Oh, she has already given birth. She went into labor late last night. They have the baby. They're going to be going home soon." Like, there was things they could do where they could tell the truth. They blatantly lied. And I think that fueled everything. So, Water7 said, "Have a great weekend. I'm going to watch that Dan Wooten video." Yes. Kimberly says, "Another great commentary, Brittany. Thank you." Caroline says, "Thanks, Brittany. Everyone have a great day. Time for sleep for this Aussie." Yes. Daisy said, the seatbelts. Sandra says, "Daisy, the seatbelts and not get into the car with a drunk driver." Yes. Two good lessons learned. Two good lessons learned. All right. Daisy May says, "We are going to hear more soon. The Daily Beast article refuted the Us magazine story. People are peeved with Meghan." Yes. Pinky Tease Party says, "I don't think she has kids. Too narcissistic to burst a baby." But yes, she also did want to keep her husband. So I think that was an important part. Sunflower says, "Isn't it horrible to question if somebody had a miscarriage or the ideation Meghan had? I can't imagine not believing someone that they said that." And I will say 100%, it is terrible that we all have to think that way. But the unfortunate thing is, and we'll end here, is that Meghan has allowed these kind of things to fester by not telling the truth when she should have, or trying to mask the truth, trying to play games in the media, which resulted in people not being able to believe her. And that's so critical. You want to believe somebody if that is actually the case, but people do try to manipulate others by lying about very important things like these particular situations. And Megan has definitely gone down that path, and I don't think it's served her well in the long run. And again, she has a very loose association with the truth. All you have to do is tell the truth. It's not that hard. So, guys, thank you so much for tuning in for this episode. We went a little long, but I think it was really, really good. Thank you guys so much for the love and support for the Dan Wooten segment. I hope to be on again sometime in the future, guys. Again, thank you so much, and I shall talk to you soon. Bye.